Good evening, everyone, to the Fitchburg Common Council for March 12, 2024. The first thing is to call to the order to the meeting. The time is 7:31, and please stand up for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Present.
Mayor Radafrada.
Here.
Alder Gerhardt.
Here.
Alder Herbst.
Here.
Alder Jetzer.
Here.
Alder Maldonado.
Here.
Alder Strassman.
Here.
Alder Udell.
Here.
Alder Wheeler.
Here.
You have quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. So next, we move to the public appearances for non-agenda items and new appointments, and then, so we had a presentation of award from Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council. So I don't know, Anna, you...
On behalf of the Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council, my name is Lee Fredericks, and I serve as the awards chairperson for that committee. I would like to thank a couple groups and a couple individuals tonight. First, I'd like to thank Anna Healy. Without her, this application would have never came to fruition. She has always been an inspiration to many within the world of urban forestry in the state of Wisconsin, and you're lucky to have her on your team. So thank you, Anna, for the time that you took to complete this application.
You're welcome.
Secondly, I'd also like to thank the members of the Park Commission and the Tree Advisory Committee for their functions of advocating, protecting, and preserving trees as a valuable resource in this community. Tonight, I'm honored to be here tonight to present the 2024 Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council Leadership Award to the City of Fitchburg Mayor Julia Radafrada. She's a passionate supporter of trees in this community because she understands the vital social and ecosystem benefits that tree canopy provides your city, as well as the positive impact that trees have on residents' physical and mental well-being. While serving as an alderperson, Julia guided the draft tree preservation ordinance through the city committees. And upon being elected mayor, she continued to champion the ordinance and brought it to the Common Council for vote, where it passed with unanimous support. As the city of Fitchburg continues to grow and develop at a rapid pace, this ordinance will give forestry, planners, public works, and you, the policymakers, the direction you need in order to incorporate trees into the development process. Mayor Julia has shown exceptional dedication and leadership to the city of Fitchburg with her efforts of allowing this tree preservation ordinance come to life. Please join me in congratulating Mayor Julia Radafrada as the 2024 Leadership Award by the Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council.
I will say some words, and then we're going to take a picture, okay?
I have a plaque here for Julia. This plaque was made from renewed urban wood, which just allows us to extend the importance of our message out into the community that much more. So thank you.
Thank you. I want to say some words, and then we are going to take some picture, okay? So first, I want to thank the Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council for this leadership award. I humbly accept it. But also, I need to thank a lot of people. First, I need to thank Anna Healy for nominating me. Gracias, Anna. Anna nominated me for my ongoing support of the City of Fitchburg Urban Forestry, including support for the Tree Preservation Ordinance and funding the urban forester and naturalist position to full-time. I firmly believe that as a growing city, we need to continue to invest and protect our trees. Trees are the guardians of our ecosystem and silent spectators in our urban landscaping. They purify our air, provide shade, and offer refuge to numerous species of bird and wildlife. Yet trees face numerous challenges, from extensive urbanization to climate change. We have to come together to ensure that our trees are not only protected, but valued. This award is a testament of our real commitment to preserving the natural beauty that defines our city. This award does not belong to me only, it belongs to the Tax Advisory Committee members. So the Tree Preservation Ordinance was a team effort, and you know it. So thank you.
You're welcome.
This award belongs to every member of the Tree Advisory Committee. I had the honor to work with the Tree Committee for more than a year as an elder person representing the council, and I was impressed by their commitment to our city forestry. Then, when I became mayor, I pushed very hard for the tree ordinance to be approved. However, the hard work was done but only for all of you guys. Fitchburg is so lucky to have such committed members who are very passionate about our tree canopy, urban forestry, tree preservation, and safeguarding our environment. So I want to tell you who are those members. It's Linda Brewer, she's here. Linda, thank you. Sue Fiber, Brandy Hofer, Anna Sawyer, Terrell Brock, and Craig Rapp. So thank you. I also want to thank Alder Gerhardt, who was an elder on the Tree Advisory Committee and also worked very hard for the Tree Preservation Ordinance. So thank you, Gabriela. I extend my gratitude to each and every one of you who has played a part in this award. Whether you are a passionate advocate, a diligent volunteer, or a responsible policymaker, so thank you to the council for approving the ordinance. Your contribution has made a difference. So thank you. Gracias.
All right.
Hey, when these people on this side.
Okay, so next we move to the consent agenda. Well, oh, sorry. I forgot. So next we move to the resolution, to a public hearing for the resolution R-16-24, public hearing on council proposed amendment to the 2024 update to the ARPA teeth closure investment plan. So I'm going to open the public hearing, and we have several people that they want to speak or they register to support. So, okay, what it is? Okay, this one. So, I will be calling you your name, so you can come to the microphone. You have 3 minutes, and you can say your name. Tell me if you are a resident of Fitchburg or no. So I'm going to call first to Doug Best. He wishes to speak in support of the amendment, I assume.
Hello, my name is Doug Best. I live at 5755 Golden Terrace in Fitchburg in the Seminole Hills neighborhood, and I support Dave Herber's amendment for Chicory Meadows. And I wrote a short statement here that City of Fitchburg Parks Open Space and Recreation Plan for 2015-2020 states as its key objective to provide high-quality recreational opportunities. Standards have been set in that plan, and it states that area parks are intended to serve persons within bicycle distance of a half mile and should range in size from 10 to 20 acres. Chicory Meadows is the largest area park within Fitchburg and the third largest park in the entire city of 35 square miles. The park supports the neighborhoods of Seminole Hills, Harlan Hills, and District 1, Ward 5, the highlands of Seminole, and the northern portion of Seminole Forest in District 2, Ward 6. And it's the only park in Fitchburg that has a dual usage trail running through it with the Capital City Bike Trail. The plan further states that area parks should include, amongst other things, shelters, water fountains, basketball, tennis, softball diamonds, volleyball, and restrooms, amongst many amenities. And the current park facilities at Chicory Meadow were justified based on the population back in 2015 of 24,000 residents. And as we all know, and as a result of the referendum, the population has grown, and today we're over 34,000 people. And when this park was built, Harlan Hills didn't exist as a neighborhood. So the park and its current facilities were justified based on Seminole Hills and the highlands of Seminole. The park facilities have fallen into significant disrepair. The basketball and tennis courts in the east are a potential safety issue for people who use them, and yet every day those facilities are being used. And in 2023, the water fountain in the west was removed and has not been replaced. The repair of the courts has been included in past budgets, but as many times, the funding has not been approved, and it was included in the 2024 to 2023, 2032 Capital Improvement Plan 50/50, in which the neighborhood would raise half of the funding, and we do not believe that's a viable plan, go-forward plan for the park. And we believe that we pay a significant amount of taxes that supports the reason for the park being there the first time and for the facilities being built there for the first time. No different than some of the new parks where you're building new facilities. And if you follow that same logic, when those new facilities are 20, 25 years down the road, you won't have the funding to support them. And I think it's critical that we as a city support the current infrastructure. And in fact, my minutes are up.
Yeah,
If I could just make one quick point. In Group 3, you have $4.3 million allocated for Tower Hill and other projects. These dollars present a unique opportunity to fund, replace some of the park's amenities that most of the time have been pushed forward or held back because of budgetary constraints. So Chicory Meadows has just as much value to the city and to the tax base that supports this council and the neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you for your comment.
Thanks.
So next I am calling Jan McNally. She wishes to speak in support. And then next I will be calling Bob Sticker. So you can come to the microphone too, Bob.
Thank you. My name is Jan McNally. I live at 3037 Bossard Drive, which is part of Seminole Hills Neighborhood Association. I have just a brief comment. My support here is to, yes, to ask you to please reconsider repairing the courts in Chicory Hill Park, or Chicory Meadows Park, from the standpoint of simply the fact that the three neighborhoods that it serves primarily, if you think about the students that live in those neighborhoods, especially the middle school students, they go to several different school districts. So the only way for them to develop friendships, play together, build community is in those parks, is on those basketball courts, is on those tennis courts. And by not having them in the condition that is usable, it really is a safety hazard. If you've ever looked at the pictures, it's, we're all about building community in the city of Fitchburg, right? And one of the big contentions about the police department building a couple weeks ago was the fact that we need a youth center. Well, here's an opportunity for us to provide a place for our youth to come together and to build community and to get exercise, be healthier, to learn to play together, and become, healthy adults. And for that reason alone, regardless of taxpayer base and everything else, and I know the budget restraints are, difficult to manage, but think of our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
I would just I'm Bob Stigsell. I live at 2984 Sahara Circle in Seminole Hills. Been a resident there for over 20 years. Put our 4 kids through the schools, and when they were younger, they got a lot of use out of that park as well. I do a lot of biking, and I see a lot of people that also non-residents that stop with their bikes. They use it. They use the playground. They use the tennis courts. The basketball courts. I've seen cars pull up and use those facilities. I think it's great. In addition to that, as they said before, as Doug said, the water fountain or bubbler, as we say, that is in disrepair. Actually, it's gone. I think it got hit or something, but we're hoping that will get replaced as well for people that use it for their dogs to have water, or having water right off that bike path. That bike path is used all the time. I bike on it a lot. I see a lot of people biking. I think it's important that we keep those facilities up, especially as other people come through our community. It represents who we are in Fitchburg, and I think it's a wisely spent money to maintain that. And I would like to see the budget amended to include those facilities upkeep. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will be calling Jennifer Ludwig. She wishes to speak. And then Mark Lucarelli. And Heidi Lucarelli. I don't know. You two wants to speak? Okay, so this one is Jennifer. Okay.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Ludwig. I'm at 5790 Verde View in Fitchburg, and I just really wanted to reiterate what has already been said here in terms of how wonderful the Chicory Meadows Park is, and to see the facilities go away, it would be a real shame. So just keeping up that tennis court and pickleball court, just for the benefit of all, would just be fantastic. So it would be a great use of money. I know that there are some monies that may be allocated in other areas, like new bike racks or something like that, but this should be a priority in my opinion. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Mark Lucarelli, 5781 Verde View. I've lived there for 20 plus years with my wife Heidi. We've raised our 3 kids in Fitchburg and have loved being part of Fitchburg. Many good arguments have been made. Just would ask the council to reconsider the decision. Chicory Meadows is at a wonderful location with the bike trail going through. It gets heavy usage, and the purpose of the basketball courts and the tennis courts, they serve a lot of our citizens and a lot of visitors to Fitchburg. And the condition that they're in right now is deplorable. It's a safety issue, and it really gives the wrong look of what Fitchburg's about. We have a great park system, and Chicory Meadows needs to be brought to the same standard, and it would be a wonderful return on investment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Heidi Lucarelli, and thank you for the time to speak and be here tonight for the meeting. And you all have heard a lot of facts from Doug and from other neighbors about how important this park is to us. And thank you for your email responses, as many of us have been emailing you over the past year, and we know that you feel it from your heart too, that maybe some of you played tennis here when you were a child. And it's been interesting. Our kids played on the park a lot when they were little, and now we're the ones playing at the parks. The kids are gone, and we're the ones playing tennis or pickleball. And I just say, too, speaking from the heart, that we really hope that you can help find a way to save our courts. And we really appreciate Dave proposing the amendment to City of Fitchburg repairing or resurfacing our courts. And Joe, we appreciate you too very much in seconding that amendment. And thanks for your time. We hope you can find a way to help us.
Thank you. Next person is Melinda Douglas. She wishes to speak in support. Melinda? Okay.
I'm Melinda Douglas. I live on Bossard Drive in Fitchburg, which is very close to Chicory Meadow Park. I'm really supporting the rehabilitation of the tennis courts, which are also, by the way, pickleball courts. Did you know that pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the U.S.? There's approximately 36.5 million people played pickleball last year. That is up from 9 million in 2022. That amounts to 11% of the people in the U.S. playing pickleball, and that's along with another 7% that play tennis. There's probably some overlap here. If we say 15% of the people play these two sports, we are looking at approximately 4,600, 5,000 people in Fitchburg that want to play these sports. That's not going down, that's going up. As far as I can tell, Fitchburg has 18 tennis courts nicely spaced in parks around the city. I know there are 10 pickleball courts at McGaw and 2 at Chicory Meadow, and I'm sure there are more. As the city allows the neighborhood courts to deteriorate, which is currently Chicory Meadow, McGaw, and Swan Creek, you are expecting more people to play on fewer courts. If the city were to spend money on upkeep of these courts, we might be able to keep up with the expected demand. By refusing to overhaul these courts, it is extremely short-sighted. One of the big attractions and benefits of living in Fitchburg is access to neighborhood parks. These parks are essential for encouraging our youth to be active and give our adult population access to easy-to-get-to courts, soccer fields, basketball courts, and walking paths. While the courts at McGaw and McGee are nice, they are not convenient for many people. Having neighborhood courts increases access and improves neighborhood property values. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have, I think, in Zoom we have Lorinda Bowles. Where is Lorinda? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I know I'm not there in person. I live on Bossard Drive also, and I've been teaching and living in Fitchburg most of my adult career. And I really love having the parks in our neighborhood, both the tennis courts, pickleball courts, basketball courts, and all of those. And there are people on them all the time. And I think it is really short-sighted to think that we're going to have just pickleball courts in a couple locations and put all our money there. I know we had a plan to help have our neighborhood help fund some of it too. But when you look at the budget for that, it works out to like $80,000 that we would have to fundraise in our neighborhood. We already pay ridiculously high taxes. And I feel like some of our tax money should go to keeping these neighborhood courts and all the amenities going forward. We should have a plan for how to maintain things so that it doesn't come to this, so that it's so far gone now that we're probably going to have to put more money into like tear them apart and rebuild them. So I'd also like to challenge the council, when you build something and put it in, that there's a plan to go along with funding it over time or putting money aside to maintain it over the years so that we don't have the problem that we're in right now, where this was built and then basically left, and now it's so far gone that we have to stick so much money in to fix it. We should be maintaining these all along because it does add property value. This is a high-use area, and it brings tons of neighborhood kids and adults together. And I just think it's a huge, valuable resource that we should definitely maintain and protect. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So then I have more registered only that they wishes to register only. They don't want to speak. And I had Heidi Stitzel in support, Terrell Brock in support, Kyle Christensen in support, Suzanne Best in support, Sarah Haselkas in support, Lynn Neighbor in support, Robert Schultz in support, Vishal Bargara in support, Philip Caruso in support, and June Caruso in support. Okay, thank you. So anyone else? No? You want to speak? Okay, come in.
Hi, my name is Vishal Bhargava. I forgot to check the sign.
Oh, okay.
I live on 3010 Bossard, and I pretty much walk every day, and in the summer we play on the courts. And I can say that I've tripped many times on that court before. I just find it strange that such a nice neighborhood, we would let go of such a facility and not maintain it. I don't know, I can't wrap my head around that thing, that I feel like this is an area that highlights your city. This is a very nice neighborhood. I see people play all the time there. So I hope you reconsider and make that place a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else? Okay, so I am closing the public hearing. Thank you, everyone, for speaking. So next we move into the consent agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor of the consent agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next, we move to the administrator report.
Good evening, everyone. Several items for informational purposes. Thursday, March 21st at 4 p.m. is the next chamber-hosted business after-hours event. That'll be held at the Atomic Koi. The Planning Department continues to work on 2 neighborhood plans, specifically the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood as well as the Greenfield neighborhood plans. You can find the latest updates in regards to those planning processes on the city website, as well as there's currently a survey open in regards to the South Stoner Prairie neighborhood plan, and a Greenfield neighborhood plan survey will be added in the coming days as well. Staff also continues to work on an RFP for an update to our bicycle and pedestrian plan. We're anticipating that that RFP will be posted next month in April. Absentee ballots have been mailed out to those who have submitted requests for absentee ballots to date. Approximately 1,650 ballots have been mailed by our clerk's department. So thank you to Tracy and your team for their work. We know it'll be a busy election season, and it's just getting started. For anyone interested in voting absentee in person, you may do so at City Hall beginning Tuesday, March 19th through Friday, March 29th. You may do that during the weekdays, 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And on March 29th, we'll actually be here till 5 p.m. For District 1 alders in particular, our building inspection department has noticed a number of property maintenance issues with rubbish and large pieces of furniture being left at the curb, as well as waste carts not being pulled in. So they are sending a letter to property owners in the King James, Norfolk, Smithfield neighborhood requesting that they maintain properties and bring rubbish in, bring the carts in, and if they have large items that need to be picked up, those should only be placed on the curb 24 hours in advance of a scheduled pickup by Pelletieri. So they'll be paying some additional attention to that area in the coming days and weeks. I will forward the letter that is being sent to property owners to you both so that you have that information as well. In fact, I'll just include the entire council in that letter so you're aware of that.
Is it just houses, just apartments, both? I mean, I know apartments has been a concern.
I think both, but largely some of the multifamily properties have been a bit more problematic. Yep. I want to do an update on the TID 4 final audit closure. That has been quite the successful TID for us. I know Misty gave this information at the Finance Committee, and I thought it would be useful to share at council. But the base value on that TID, and for reference, TID 4 was Fish Hatchery and Noble all the way over to Highway 14 and Lacey Road. The base value of that TID district in 2003 was approximately $49 million. The final value in 2022, or 19 years later, was approximately $292 million. Which obviously is a $242 million increase approximately, or 6 times the base value of what had originally been created there. The total increment that TID district generated over its life is approximately $53 million, and the excess increment that has been distributed back to the taxing entities, which include the Oregon School District, I think it's solely an Oregon School District, Madison Technical College, Dane County, and the city of Fitchburg is approximately $16 million, with the city share of that being approximately $5.7 million. So that's quite an example of how TID districts can operate and be an effective development tool for municipalities, and ultimately being able to use those increment funds to generate projects and other infrastructure improvements. And obviously then when the economic development is put back on the full value put back on the tax rolls, can provide some additional levy relief to all property tax paying parcels within the city. And then the final item I have is, many of you may have seen this already. It was in the news last evening, as well as placed on our city socials this morning, is the federal government has announced approximately $120 million in funding for the north-south bus rapid transit route is planned by the city of Madison and Madison Metro. That funding will cover approximately 75 to 80% of the capital costs associated with establishing that route. And I don't want to speak for the council here, but I suspect that most, if not everyone, is pleased about having that BRT service in Fitchburg. We'll have, as planned now, approximately 4 stops between the Beltline and McKee Road. And we will be the only suburban community that actually has multiple stops of the BRT line, either east or west, or north or south within it. There are stops in Middleton and Sun Prairie, for instance, but just singular stops is my understanding. So we'll look forward to that project coming to Fish Hatchery Road. Estimated operational date is in sometime in 2028, so it is a bit of a ways off, but we're excited to see it coming. Any questions for me on anything I've presented?
Any question? No?
You answered it.
Okay.
Originally it was for 2027, but you mentioned 2028, so.
Yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chad. So next we move to commissions and committees reports. Plan Commission, do you have anything to report?
We meet next week.
Next week, okay, great. Next we move to the Board of Public Works.
I move approval of Resolution R 1124, approving contract with Synthes for uniform towel And maintenance services for Public Works Maintenance Facility and crews.
Second.
Wait.
Alder Herbst, we had a late change on this
Yeah.
one. The contract did not come back from Cintas, so we're going to need to postpone this until March 26th.
Okay.
March 26th,
I
okay.
would move we postpone resolution R 1124 till March 26th. council
Second.
meeting.
Okay, all those in favor of postponing, say aye.
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 Any opposed, the
Sorry
motion
about that.
carry. Okay, no, it's fine. Next one, Dave.
Next, move approval of resolution R 1924, approving First Amendment to the agreement for engineering services for Fitch-Rona Road reconstruction.
Second.
Public Works approved.
Did the Finance Committee approve?
The Finance Committee approved.
Okay, so what is this, Dave?
There were a number of changes that we asked the engineers to do. Probably most notable was a roundabout at Lacey and Fitch-Rona Road, but I'd let Tim is there. I'd like him to elaborate on what the other items that drove this change order or this amendment.
Okay, is Tim here? Okay. Tim?
Yes, so
okay.
the Fitch-Rona Road and Lacey Road intersection, the Lacey Road project we completed back in November of 2023 ended about 450 feet east of that intersection. So that last 450 feet of Lacey Road is incorporated into this project. That was inadvertently left out of the original scope of work for AECom. The next thing that we had added was an additional retaining wall by the Bavaria sausage property. As part of that retaining wall, there's some storm sewer penetration. So as we progressed through the design of the Fitch-Rona project, we realized the retaining wall was needed. And then another item was the cast in place cantilever retaining walls were originally assumed to be able to be used on this project due to the soil oil conditions. It was inadvisable, so a soil nail wall retaining wall needs to be utilized in the 4 retaining wall locations. So this required some additional design and structural work, and then also the stormwater modeling showed worse than expected water quality. So we had to do some additional stormwater design to bring that water quality up to our requirements. So those were the additional improvements on top of the roundabout that Alder Herbst had mentioned.
Any question? How much is going to cost this?
The change order
Yes.
is in the amount of $188,110, which is within the project budget.
Okay. Any comments, question? No? Okay, thank you, Tim. All those in favor of resolution R-19-24 say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, so thank you. So next we move to next one, Dave.
Move approval of resolution R 3024, approving purchase of 2024 radios and water meters.
Second.
Did the Board of Public Works approve?
Public Works approved, Mayor.
Did the Finance Committee approve?
The Finance Committee approved.
Okay, thank you. What is this?
So these are standard, I believe it's 3/4 inch water meters. And we purchase a certain number a year. The meter, we have a wireless communication. So we no longer have to go out and read meters individually. So that's the radios. So the radios are paired with the meters. And I'm trying to remember how many. I'm sorry, Bill or Tim, how many meters were we purchasing with this?
So the meters, there's 232, and then we are purchasing 105 of the radio reads.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comment? No? All those in favor of resolution R-30-24 say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you. So next one.
Move approval of resolution R 3324, amending the 2024 capital project funds budget, city solar.
Second.
Okay, did the Board of Public Works approve?
Madam Mayor, Public Works approved.
Did RCC approve?
Yes.
Did the Finance Committee approve?
Yes, the Finance Committee approved.
Okay, we need 2/3 of the vote for this one, so, okay, what is this, Dave?
Well, this is the replacement of the failed inverters. And we had to move some money. This cost approximately $72,000, I believe, and this amendment puts in place the financing to move the money to pay for this.
Okay, any comments, question?
If I may clarify, the cost to repair the defective inverters is approximately $18,000, and this does also close out another solar-related project that would move that funding to be available for further solar-related needs as well. So that moves a total of approximately $46,000. Which is why there's a budget amendment, or I'm sorry, why there's a 2/3 vote that's needed. So of the $46,000, approximately $18,000 will be used to replace the defective inverters on the City Hall, and I believe one still remains to be replaced on the library roof as well, and the remaining approximately $28,000 would be available for other solar-related uses.
Thank you. Any other comment? Bill?
Yeah, Tim, during our Board of Public Works meeting, I asked about this, the 72 versus 18, and I was told that it was 18,000 per inverter, and we needed 4 of them, but that's not what we're hearing tonight.
No, Phil Groupie had put together a memo that outlines the cost of this, and on the last paragraph of page 1 of that memo, it mentions that the total replacement cost for the inverters is $19,125, which then there was a credit for an $1,100 warranty reimbursement, which equates to a total cost to replace those inverters at $18,025.
Yeah. Dave?
So what's the 46,000 slated for? Is it a specific project? Again, I'm kind of like, I'm with Bill, I was under a different impression.
So the $46,000 is amending the capital projects fund budget to allow the remaining $46,000 from CIP project 1038 to be spent on solar equipment replacement projects in the operating budget. So right now, as Ed earlier mentioned, the $46,000 will be moved into the operating budget, and we'll use $18,000 of that to replace the existing inverters that need to be replaced, and that will leave approximately $28,000 in that account for any additional solar equipment replacement projects that may arise.
So it's future replacement, not funding a new project. Is that correct, Chad?
Correct at this time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment? No? Okay, because it's a 2/3, I will ask for roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Gerhart.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Aye.
Alder Jutzer.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Strassman.
Aye.
Alder Udell.
Aye.
Alder Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Next one.
Move approval of resolution R3524, 2024 purchase of chemicals.
Second.
Did the Board of Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did the Finance Committee approve?
Yes, Finance Committee approved.
Okay, thank you. What is this?
This is our purchase of the chlorine and fluorine or fluoride for our water treatment at our wells.
Okay.
Standard, not a large increase over the previous year, and it's something that's needed to keep our water supply safe.
Thank you. Jay, do you have a question?
Yeah, this is one of those items where for the future, we should just have a more descriptive title than purchase of chemicals because that doesn't really mean anything. And
And it can mean a lot
If
of
someone's reviewing the agenda, they aren't going to have any idea what that means. So, purchase of chemicals for
So noted,
water
Jay.
supply system would probably be good.
Okay. So noted. Thank you, Jay.
Okay, so all those in favor of resolution R-35-24, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Next one.
Move approval of resolution R 3724, approving the purchase of two John Deere 1585 mowers.
Second.
Did the Board of Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did the Finance Committee approve?
Yes, the Finance Committee approved.
Okay, thank you. What is this?
We are purchasing two new mowers. We have a 2016 and a 2008, and we are going to keep the 2016 as a backup spare, and I believe we're going to sell the 2008, and so we'll have a reserve and then two mowers, which is essentially the same thing we have now. Tim, did I hit that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions? No?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, okay.
Tim, and I see Scott's here as well. I didn't ask about this during the Board of Public Works meeting, but and I think I know the answer, but can you tell us whether it's 2024 and we're buying internal combustion engines on these tractors that are going to last another 2 decades probably, right? Well, or at least 1 decade. Is an electric mower an option yet for something of this size and scope?
I don't know if an electric mower is. I would assume there it is. And it's something we didn't look into.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, talk to me 8 or 10 years from now,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Is that possible we can make that part of the process, Tim, going forward to when we're replacing vehicles to consider electric options?
Yeah, we can look into it for our equipment. You mean vehicles? We are looking into it.
Oh, so for the
but we
yeah.
can, for equipment, we can absolutely.
Great, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-37-24, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay, thank you. So now we move to Park Commission.
I'll move approval of resolution R 2224, amending the 2024 Capital Projects Fund budget, Hillside Heights Playground relocation.
Second.
Did the Park Commission approve?
Parks approved.
And did the Finance Committee approve?
Yes, Finance Committee approved.
Thank you. We need 2/3 of vote for this one too. So, okay, can you explain what it is?
Is Scott still on? I know the project very well.
Scott,
but
can
I
you
think-
come? And yeah, Scott is going to explain. Thank you. Can you say your name and your address, please? No, I'm joking.
Your neighbor, your friendly neighborhood parks director. No, this is the Parks Department final or proposed final step to correct an error that we made in locating the playground too close to one of the stormwater facilities in Hillside Heights Park. So this is our recommended final step in correcting that error.
Any question? Bill and Jay. Okay, I'm going to go first with Bill.
Live it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. So, how did the playground equipment get installed at the location? Are there guidelines in place that somehow got inadvertently violated, or is there just no set rule to any of this?
Typically what we do, Bill, is when we replace a playground structure, we'll replace it in the same location as the current one. If you're familiar with Hillside Park, where the playground is located, it's kind of tucked in. It's shaded. It's an area that doesn't get much air circulation, so algae growth and those kinds of things on the playground. So what our thought was from the park department staff was to move the playground out away from that shaded area. And we certainly wanted to leave enough open play space in between, so we moved it close to the stormwater facility. So it was, I guess it went beyond what we've normally have done in regards to locating the new playground in the same location.
Yeah, so I guess I just want to make sure that there's, some kind of a guideline in place now so that we don't run into this in the future.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Jay?
Well, I guess I have two questions. One is, how close is it to the stormwater pond with this new location?
I would.
It's very close.
The new location where it was installed? So the one that's going to be relocated, how close is that one to the stormwater pond? Is that the question?
That's a question.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the question I was asking. Once this is relocated, how far will it be from the stormwater pond?
When it's relocated, similar to the same distance it was prior,
I believe it's about 180 feet.
Okay,
is my
there we go.
recollection from when we had a meeting with
And
the neighborhood back in December.
How close is it right now?
the new playground is probably within 50 feet of the stormwater facility.
Okay. Well, maybe we should just have a guideline that says we won't install playground equipment within 100 feet of a stormwater pond. I actually had another question, though, which is now lost in the confusion, so it may come back.
Can you add, Scott, that we met with the neighbors?
That was the question.
Okay.
Does the neighborhood support this location?
They do.
Yes.
They do. Yeah.
Huh? Dave.
I just want to add, and it's unfortunate, where we moved it, but exactly where it was, if you look at that woods right there, full of poison ivy, like Scott mentioned, it's shaded, and it wasn't just, weren't just flippantly, there was a reason we moved it. It's unfortunate we moved it that close to the pond, but the poison ivy and poison oak and other things right there in that woods pose a pretty good hazard to the small children. Also, I think if there's poison oak or poison ivy around, the child is going to find it.
So can you explain what we're doing now in that area?
Well, we're going to relocate the playground that we placed close to the stormwater facility back to the location where the current playground is.
And also you are doing cleaning the area.
And we actually did do some cleanup of that area to the south of the playground, which really looks nice. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other question, Jay?
Now, if I recall, we've had a lot of problems with that Hillside Heights pond. Over the years, there's been flooding in basements and stuff. That's still a closed pond, isn't it?
I believe so.
Because it doesn't really attach to anything else in the system. If that pond just kind of fills and goes up and down, and
there was a recent project where they increased the amount of space to hold the stormwater.
Yeah.
To gain some capacity.
So is it believed that at maximum capacity this will still be an adequate distance away? Like if we get one of those, if we get another one of those, what was it, 2012 storm years?
Chad has an answer.
I think it would be hard for us to predict that. I mean, we have no idea what that might look like. I mean, obviously this playground has been in the current location for about 40 years.
Yeah. 1990.
And we hadn't had any noted concerns in its previous locations. So I think it'd be difficult for us to answer that question, particularly considering also the heavy rainfall events that have happened over the last 5 to 10 years.
David?
I would add, if you looked at the pond, been down there, where the high water mark is to the low water mark. It's roughly 10 to 12 feet is what I've seen from my trips there. So if we were at the high water, it's not getting really, close to the play area. But again, I can't, as Chad mentions, if there's some unusual thing, it is flat there, so you could flood a bigger area, but I don't think it's that likely.
Randy.
Just so that everybody's aware, Jim and I have been in many conversations with the neighborhood. We've met on site, and then Mayor, you, and City Administrator Chad Brecklin also pulled a meeting together last December. Mm-hmm. And the neighbors have been very engaged on where this playground equipment should go back to the original location. Mm-hmm. And there's a long email chain as well. And I think they're in full agreement as to that's why we're moving it back to this location. So just so there's just adding clarity to this.
Thank you, Randy.
Conversation.
Bill?
So if it's going back to the original location, are there any steps being taken to mitigate, mold growth or whatever?
Well, at this point, we'll have to keep an eye on it and then maybe pressure wash it at times if it's needed.
Okay, so you're not opening up tree canopy or anything to let more light in, or
not? I would say, well, we're clearing out the banks, so there might be a little bit more airflow, if you would. But there's still a couple big cottonwoods that are going to, cast a lot of shade on the area. So I don't see the shade itself being reduced. It'll be the same.
I do think, though, if you want to fill this room with people, start taking down some trees.
Well, I mean,
We are not doing that.
if it was buckthorn or some kind of shrub tree, that's not a
So
big
Parks
deal.
Maintenance, as Scott had mentioned, did clear the underbrush in that lot to the south there. So anything that was invasive or non-native, they communicated with the neighborhood there during the December meeting that we had, and we offered to clear that out, and they were good with that. Actually, thankful that we were going to do that. So we are hopeful that did open up at least a bit more airflow. We know that this park does sit and playground sits on the north side of this hill. And in addition to being on the north side with the tree canopy, it does create some problems. And as Scott mentioned, our parks maintenance team will check on it periodically. And if there's a need to try to mitigate any mold growth, we'll certainly do our best to get ahead of that.
Okay. So
one more.
Okay. One more. Okay.
So we've got new equipment that was installed less than a year ago. Do we have replacement funds set up for this? I mean, is that now standard practice, or is that not yet for everything?
We do have a CIP account that we utilize to replace playgrounds on a periodic basis.
Yeah.
So it was Hillside Heights' turn to get replaced. Yep.
Okay. So because it's a 2/3 vote, I will ask for a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Gerhart.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Aye.
Alder Jetzer.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Strassman.
Aye.
Alder Udell.
Aye.
Alder Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. So next, we move to the library board.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Commission of Aging Well.
We have no report.
Resource Conservation Commission.
Yes, we met last night and had a productive meeting. I'll start with some save the dates. If you'll bear with me for just one moment. We have an electric vehicle 101 event planned for Wednesday, June 12th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the library. It's in addition to RCC, it's also co-hosted by the library and MG&E, and I believe they'll actually have electric vehicles that people can see. So again, that's June 12th, 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's a Wednesday evening. Also in April, we have a couple of exciting things. The waterway cleanup this year is going to be on April 6th from 9 to 11 a.m. And the locations this year will be Duns Marsh, Swan Creek, and Quarry Hill like previous years, But Yarmouth Greenway is actually in pretty good shape after last year, so we're going to switch it. And I think it's going to be what we're calling the Triverton Greenway that's right near Walgreens off of McKee. So that's probably where we'll begin, but you should check the website if you're interested in that. So again, we encourage everyone to come out. And if anyone is not able to come to a waterway cleanup, but they want to participate, the city can provide things like trash bags and safety vests. So please let us know, and we can even advertise it on your behalf as well. So please let us know if you want to do something outside of the April 6th date. We also have our spring recycling event, April 13th, from 8 to 11 a.m. If any of the alders or the mayor would like to participate, we are still seeking volunteers. And that will be electronics recycling and confidential paper shredding as before. But please note there will be no med drop at this one because the police station is no longer able to accept med drop. So no med drop. That's the big change for this one. And then we discussed a couple of amendments, or resolutions rather. Discussed some of the... and then a couple of things. There a note from our environmental engineer that we did over $6 million of stormwater infrastructure in 2023, which is the most ever. So it's kind of incredible and kind of just like shows how big our city has gotten, that we're needing to actually update and fix this infrastructure going forward. We had some prescribed burns at several stormwater facilities that went really well. And there's a new geothermal sign at the library to kind of explain the geothermal capability of that facility. And then also one last note, Low Mo May, which used to be called No Mo May, but the new branding is kind of Low Mo May because if you even reduce the number of times you mow, it's still helpful to the environment. Even some people have to mow; they can't.
So it's
Low Mo May is coming up in May. So we might have a pollinator event, but that hasn't been scheduled yet. And I know the city will also provide signs for anyone that wants to participate. Thanks.
I have a question. If people want to participate on the April 6th cleanup, who should be contacting?
So if you search City of Fitchburg waterway cleanup, there is a web page, a landing page. And if anyone has any difficulty finding it, you could email the clerk's office and I'm sure they can direct you to the correct staff member.
Okay, thank you. Any question for Gabriela? No? Okay, thank you, Gabriela. TTC.
We will meet this Thursday to discuss the Parks and Open Space and Recreation Plan, transportation agreement with the City of Madison, a couple transportation project plats for Sain Road, phase 3 of that project, and we will also be discussing the changes to the bicycle committee.
Thank you. SIDA.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Bicycle Committee.
No report.
EMS.
No report.
Healthy Neighborhood Committee.
Oh, we have stuff to report. So last week, the committee heard the presentations from all the organizations who are requesting funding through our H&I grant program. The total for requests was $173,000, actually almost $174,000 on our $78,000 line items. So we're going to have some decisions to make, but I think given the interest in this, it certainly justifies trying to find some more money next year to help this program.
The total is not 88,000; it's 128,000 because I added $50,000 more in the budget.
Well, when I looked at the budget, it said $78,000.
No, I believe it's $140,000.
Well, maybe it is.
$140,000.
Whatever it is, we'll work it out.
We have requests for $174,000.
We have requests for more than that, and the $174,000 is actually supporting. So we're contributing to larger programs that these organizations are doing. And the total of those programs is about $1.8 million with funding coming from other places. So, our little piece is helping with some of these other things. But we'll be making decisions on these at our next meeting and then sending that off to the council for approval. We did have almost $15,000 in requests for Southdale. We had $33,000 in requests for Belmar, which was the high water mark there. So I think people are seeing the needs in these important neighborhoods and are willing to come and help us provide services to them.
Okay, thank you. The Housing Advisory Committee?
We meet next on April 8th.
Okay, thank you. Landmark Preservation Commission?
No report.
The Tree Advisory Committee?
We meet on Thursday.
Thank you. And then, the Police Facility Oversight Committee will be dissolved. We send the letters to the members, I think so.
That ad hoc committee was created on March 14th of last year, and ad hoc committees are obviously intended to go for 1 year unless extended. And this time that committee is being not extended by the mayor. And yes, those participants are receiving a letter thanking them for their time and commitment.
So will there be a new committee created in its place?
If we create a committee, it's going to be an internal group for now. Okay. So next, we move to the standing committee reports. We go with Finance Committee. Randy.
Okay. Motion to approve Resolution R-34-24, the 2024 Payment Service Network Fees.
Second.
Okay. Did the Finance Committee approve?
Yes, Finance Committee approved.
What is this?
All right. Fitchburg Utilities has offered an online payments of utility bills over the last several years. The Fitchburg Utility offers the service fee free of charge to encourage electronic payments. And effective April 1st, 2024, this year, the water utility is expected to begin contributing 50-50 towards the cost of the service fee. The other 50 is sewer utility, is picking that additional cost up. But this resolution authorizes the continued use of the PSN for acceptance of utility bill credit cards. And once the water rate case is approved and effective, which it is and will be April 1st of this year, the water utility will be picking up 50% of the credit card fees, and then it will be shared by the sewer utility. The final rate order was issued. As I mentioned, the credit card fees are now addressed separately in the rate, and because of the water rate case delay, this budget amendment is needed for the sewer utility to continue to pay 100% of the fee, and that's for the period of January 1st through the 31st of this year. So, and a simple majority vote is required.
Thank you. Any question for Randy? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution R-34-24, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Personnel Committee, Gabriela.
We are meeting next April 24th at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Public Safety and Human Services.
Two things on Saturday, March 30th, day before Easter, the Cottontail Run will be held at McCaw Park, 5 and 10K runs. And also a new business is starting up on McKee Road near Orchard Point, basically kind of a buy and sell game business. So we're excited to have a new business, and please consider running on the day before Easter. That's all.
Thank you. So next we move to unfinished business. Randy?
All right. Motion to approve Resolution R-16-24, adopting the 2024 update to the ARPA TID closure investment plan.
Second.
Did you discuss in finance? No. Okay.
No, we did not. But
okay.
Misty is going to address the resolution.
I'd love to talk about kind of this process and where we're at. So Finance Committee did discuss it at a regularly scheduled meeting a couple meetings ago, just not tonight.
Okay.
The mayor did present her proposed investment plan. You hopefully all saw that. And then the Finance Committee discussed it. Council then had the opportunity to submit amendments to what you think should change in that mayor's proposal. We did only receive the one amendment. So tonight we will be voting on that amendment. Council is able to make changes to that amendment however you want. However, you can't bring any new ideas off of the floor. And then once that amendment is approved or voted upon, then we would adopt the investment plan for 2024. I will remind everybody that this is the last year we're going to go through this process, because at this point the money has been either spent or allocated, or we'll go through the CIP and budget process like normal. So this is our last year that we intend to do this. The links to everything is out on the website. And once it's adopted, I will put together the final version and put that out on the website as well.
Okay, any question for Misty? No? Okay, so then we call to the amendment?
Yep, so generally the sponsor of the amendment would make the motion.
So Dave, can you move?
Yep. I move approval of amendment number 1, adding funding to repair the Chicory Meadows tennis and basketball courts.
Second.
Okay, can you explain your rationale why we need to do this here and no during capital improvement plan?
Well, they've gone several years with it's a dangerous condition right now. I don't think we should have to wait another year. There's many things going on that we should be maintaining our facilities. As they mentioned, they pay a lot of taxes. They're not a neighborhood that complains a lot or requests much. They pay a lot of taxes. They should be able to have their parks maintained, and we shouldn't have to ask them to come up with half the money themselves. I think we have to focus on maintaining our parks. As I mentioned to Alder Udell before the meeting, I don't think we should build any new parks until we figured out how we're going to maintain the ones we have. So that's my. I would like to get this done so they can have a functional court this summer.
Okay, thank you. So we want to explain why we are. I know the condition of some of the tennis court. This is something that we started discussing last year during the internal deliberation for the capital improvement plan. So what is the plan for maintaining the tennis court? Okay, because as you know, those tennis courts cost a lot of money. So this project is already in the CIP, but the funding is, I think is requesting grants and fundraising. So one of the things that Chad is going to explain now is the condition of all our tennis courts, because I think we need to look at there are other tennis courts that people use a lot, and also they are in a very bad shape. We need to determine what is going to be our plan for all these aging tennis courts. And then as a council, we need to make some recommendation to what is the plan. So Chad, can you explain that?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor mentioned, last year during the CIP process to develop the budget that was ultimately voted on, there was conversation about ultimately bringing a policy conversation forward to the Common Council for consideration and action. This is largely, obviously, stemming from a few different factors. One is the investment that the city is making in the McKee Farms Park tennis courts. There are 6 tennis courts there that are obviously under reconstruction right now at a cost of approximately $1 million for those courts, as well as the fencing around those courts. The city has 8 other tennis courts throughout the city. You can currently see 3 of them, and at some point during the conversation here, I'll scroll down to show the 4th one. I guess I can just kind of at least do that now. So basically, these 8 other courts are in 4 locations. Chicory Meadow has 2, McGaw Park has 2, Swan Creek has 2, and Wildwood South has 2. You can see that Wildwood South was the most recently reconstructed tennis court. That was done in 2016 at a cost of approximately $105,000. That is by far and away the best court that we currently have as far as condition goes. And from a maintenance perspective, we estimate that it's approximately $8,000 to $9,000 every 5-ish years, give or take, depending on when wear and tear begins to show up. Sometimes it may be sooner than 5 years, and sometimes it may be later. But the cost to do general maintenance, crack filling, resurfacing of the playing surface as far as the lines and so forth is about $8,000 to $9,000 for 2 courts every 5 years, and that can typically be done about 2, maybe 3 times before the court is going to need more extensive work in order to keep it playable. So the other 6 courts that we have at Chicory Meadow and McGaw Park and Swan Creek are all relatively in the same condition, and that is not good, to say the least. You heard from a number of residents this evening about the condition at the Chicory Meadows, and it's safe to say that the condition of McGaw and Swan Creek are also in similar condition. You can see in the right-hand column where these particular tennis courts had previously been listed in the CIP for projects, and where they currently may be residing in the CIP for potential completion. There has not been any funding allocated recently for these courts other than to do any sort of maintenance that is advisable. These 3 courts are largely in a condition where there's really little maintenance that can be done to make them into good playing condition at this point in time. The current estimate to replace 2 courts is approximately $200,000. So you can see over the last 7 years, the cost to replace courts has doubled. So what staff is recommending is that there is a larger policy conversation that takes place during the capital improvement process that we've just kicked off and ultimately will be in front of council for consideration this summer, to determine how they intend to approach all the tennis courts and ideally put a plan in place moving forward based on a policy call at that time. I think it's challenging at this point in time, recognizing, of course, that the Chicory Meadows courts are not in great shape at all. To pull one of 3 different sets of courts out for consideration at this point in time versus making that larger conversation of overall policy of which courts are going to be fixed and repaired and when. So that's what you have in front of you. I'm happy to scroll up if you need me to show the Wildwood South courts again at all, but I'll leave up to 3 courts that are currently in the worst condition.
Joe.
Do you happen to have photos like on file or Scott that just kind of show this? For the purpose of the discussion, it would be good for everybody to see what each one looks like if we have pictures.
If you give me a few minutes, I can probably find some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Any other question, comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're looking specifically at tennis courts in this discussion. Is there anything else in our parks anywhere that is also a sizable investment that needs attention? I'm just wondering, are we talking about tennis courts just because somebody brought up the concept of tennis courts, or is there other equipment that's also in bad shape that ought to be, part of the same discussion?
No, we are discussing tennis court because this is a conversation that we internally have been talking about from when last year in the CIP. What is the plan to do? Where is the plan with the tennis court? Because we don't have an issue with one, we have issue with several of them. So for now, the issue is that the conversation that we need to determine during the CIP process is the ideal time. Is the council is okay to say, we are going to repair all of them, and from where the money is going to come, or we need to, like Magot, for example. Magot is a park that we are designating to be the pickable neighbor area. So do we need to maintain the Magot tennis court that is there, that I don't think that is too much use, because people are playing tennis court? Maybe we can, pickable, maybe we can, one option could be, maybe we can dismantle that, the Magot, in order to, because people are not using, it's in very bad shape, and we hope that area, that park is going to be the pickable court area. Or, Swan Creek is another area people use a lot, the tennis court, and it's in very bad shape. And allocate those funding to repair Chicory Mill and Swan Creek. I have been there in those tennis courts. I used to play tennis way back, Chicory, they were not in bad condition, but last summer I had the opportunity to go there and take pictures. Yes, they are in very bad shape. So we need to do something, yes, but we need to determine if we fix one, we need to fix the other one, because it's not fair that we allocate money from ARPA fund for one court and not for the Swan Creek or Magot. So that one is we need to discuss that. It's not fair that, that one of the tennis courts get, repaired and not the other one. So we had to have that discussion. Yes.
So in the amendment, there's also basketball court. Do we have a similar analysis for like basketball courts? Because for instance, I know that the one in Belmar Park is in terrible condition.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what if we have math on that similar to what we have on tennis courts. And I know it's probably a much larger list because there's probably way more basketball courts in the city.
I don't know, Scott, do you have any plans to repair the basketball court in Belmar?
We do have our CIP 6259, which is utilized to do those kinds of repairs. I don't know verbatim what's listed in that list, but certainly Belmar Hills basketball court could be one of the things that's listed on that CIP project.
More so asking from your perspective, how many basketball courts are there in Fitchburg, and do you have a similar ranking system or in Parks Department, like which ones are bad, worse, good, okay?
Yeah, I would say if I was to, we probably have 25 or so half courts, maybe 6 or 7 full courts, and it's really kind of as needed basis when we determine that they're beyond, and typically what we'll do with a basketball court is, if we can, fill the cracks, those kinds of things. But typically what we're doing now, for example, at Southdale, we just built new basketball court.
While other questions formulate, I'll just scroll through a few photos.
These are Chicory Meadow, I think.
Yeah, they're huge. Jay.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions because I don't really understand how this is working. And since Misty is there and loves to answer questions, I'm going to fire some at you. So, I was looking at the ARPA investment plan. Let me find that page again. So, we currently have allocated $10,700,000 thereabouts to spend, but we only have $10,100,000 to available. So how would we deal with another $250,000 expenditure when we're already over what's available in that line item?
So one of the, couple of things. So one, from a process perspective, this investment plan is just a wish list, to steal the mayor's words. So if this is something you want to consider as part of the CIP and budget process, putting it into the investment plan, it's fine. If we are over what's committed, that will get worked out through the rest of the process. The other detail to note is Chad reported in his administrator's report that the TID 4 closure that we received was $5.7 million, which is more than what we had originally planned or expected back when the last document came out. So that also provides a little more flexibility to get some of these projects done.
Okay, and that might cover part of it, but essentially, if we include this in the ARPA TID plan, something else that we've put in there as a council that we've been working on for the last several years is going to have to be bumped out.
So I'll say the investment plan again is just a wish list.
I know,
So the things that are
but-
in the CIP in the 2024 budget,
Sure.
there's enough funding to cover all of those. But there are some things that were delayed to 25 or 26 that, yes, may have to fall off the list, but we'll address that when we get to that point in the process.
All right, now, I'm looking at CIP project 6263, which seems to be the project where these basketball courts are.
Tennis court.
Tennis courts, I'm sorry. And I don't understand what's going on here. So in 2024, it's showing $160,000 for maintenance of existing facilities. And according to the narrative up here, it appears that that's for the Chicory Meadows tennis courts. Is that correct?
That is correct. Funded 100% by grants and donations.
Right. And the $175,000 in 2025, am I correct that that is for the McGaw tennis court replacement, which we're also expecting to be paid for by grants and donations?
Correct.
And where would we expect those grants and donations to come from?
I don't have an answer to that.
And this is actually probably a question for you. Why would we be looking to fund city infrastructure through grants and donations?
Because we have done it in the past, and it had worked. And also there is grant available there that we can, look for. So, but we have done it in the past. We have that the Kids Crossing, and we did.
Well, Kids Crossing is a very different project
And we
than
did
a tennis court.
and we did inclusive playground, and so.
Right. Those projects, those two projects that you just picked, are very, very different projects from tennis courts. Tennis courts are something that are mainly. I'm sure that tennis courts are primarily used by people who live in a specific neighborhood in those parks, and the other projects you mentioned are. We only have one of each of those, and so those are used by people all over the city, and there's a much larger base to draw from.
Well, because
for
last year we
donations.
had to make that decision, and you guys review this plan. We didn't have the money to cover those tennis courts. This is what the discussion that we had internally to determine what is the plan. Something that we have been asking the Parks Department. What is going to be the plan for this year? Because, yes, we need to do something different. We need to determine if we are going to fund it with levy or with what. But this conversation was planning to happen during the CIP this year.
All right. So, Scott, what grants are available for replacing tennis courts?
Yeah, I'm not aware of a lot of them. Jay, there may be some smaller grants that might be available, but there's not that many dollars available for that type of project.
Well, I just can't imagine that we would be asking residents near a neighborhood park to crap out the money to replace the tennis courts. That seems to me like something we just ought to do, because it's the city, and that we did that with the pickleball courts. We've done that with other tennis courts like the McKee Farms Park court. I don't believe that we were asking for donations to get the McKee Farms Parks tennis courts replaced. So I think this is a bad strategy And I apologize that I didn't see this in here before, but it is a 314-page document, so it's difficult to review every page of it. But now that it's come to our attention, I think this is something we need to
It
address.
was there since last year, so.
I'm sure it was.
And you guys approved the CIP. So what we need to do now is, this is why we need to have this conversation, because if we need to determine if we need to, to repair, I think we need to be, fair, and we need to repair, allocate money to all of them. It's not, it's going to be totally unfair that we allocate money for one set of tennis court and not the other park. So this is a good discussion that we're having now, the pre-CIP plan, because if we allocate $250,000 for this project now, is what about Swan Creek and McGaw? So I think we need to be fair with that. So,
Mayor David has his hand up.
David, yes. Okay, so, yeah, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, life isn't fair. It's, there's you do one, you can't do them all. All I'm saying is fix their park. We have all kinds of things that we're putting in, new things that we're spending money on before we're maintaining our existing facilities. Just fix their darn park.
Another comment about your, the comment that you made about the justification, because I want to clear some stuff that you mentioned here. You mentioned that the residents of that neighborhood pay a lot of taxes, and the city will be spending $500,000 in Southdale Park for residents who are new to the city and have paid little taxes to support and build infrastructure. So what I want to clarify to the council that it's not $500,000, is $400,000 and $6,000 additional. They are part of the dedication fee that they are coming for the artisan village developments. So this is not taxpayer money. This is money that that is coming from park development, and also. We need to be, I understand that, maybe you think that these people are not paying little taxes, but this is not how our taxes work here at the city of Fitchburg, how we use the taxes. So yes, we need to fix those tennis courts because they are a liability. Yes, I agree with that. But we need to be consistent and say we repair those ones, we need to repair the other ones. This is what I am asking the council. And this is a conversation that maybe we should have during CIP and determine from where the funding is going to come. If the funding is going to come from tax, for the taxpayer, okay, we need to include in the CIP. I agree that we need to fix them because they are a liability for the city. Okay, who is, Gabriela, you have a question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Joe, okay.
Yeah, so I support, I do think we need to fix these park amenities that we currently have, and we obviously face these really terrible challenges of the tax, with the tax levy. We can build new infrastructure because we can use developer fees through park improvement fees, but we very rarely have the funding through the tax levy to replace or repair the equipment that we have, where we get this vicious cycle where the tennis courts get so old and then they can't be repaired anymore, now they have to be replaced. And it's just because we don't have the funding available for it. So, I sympathize with the issue. I do want these courts to be used, and it's great that the community uses them and that people love that park. I love that park. It's like one of my favorite parks in Fitchburg. I think it's gorgeous. I love being there. But my question is so in terms of the funding that we would talk about at CIP if we push this to talk about tennis courts and or basketball courts more broadly, would that funding potentially be from ARPA TID, this pot? And
So we have used the strategy in the past where we'll use kind of one-time money to do that next replacement and then set up the replacement fund therefore after to kind of avoid that structural deficit piece. So I think that could be an option, but it'd be important for council to prioritize putting that replacement fund together to do future replacements.
But in terms of the funding, like if we go through the CIP and we're like, oh, we're going to fund this tennis court this year and the next year, where is that money going to come from? Is it going to be TID closure money? Is it going to be tax levy?
For the initial, like this next replacement could be the one-time money, like the TID closure money.
Okay.
But then it'd be the levy money would be what would have to be set aside for the future replacements.
Got it. Well, I just wonder if we can make this amendment more broad. We can just say tennis court and basketball court replacement broadly, and then we can have that conversation. Because, like, as you said, for the neighbors, this is just a wish list. So this is not allocating money. So if this amendment passes as it exists right now, it's not like that money goes directly to the park to rebuild it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not how it
No.
functions. It's just on a list of things that we might want to do. So I guess if we get to the CIP process in July and we want to consider tennis courts and basketball courts as part of it, right now the investment plan does not have that in there, that general fund, right?
The investment plan? No.
No.
Yeah.
It's a wishing list.
Yeah, so I just wonder if we make this amendment more broad, we amend it to make it generally speaking for tennis courts and basketball courts, and then we can have that conversation during the CIP process, and this pool of money can be on the table.
And also, we should be inviting the people from Swan Creek because they are not sitting on the table right now. So, Joe,
They could have come.
they didn't know about this. Okay.
Yeah, I would, I mean, just following up on that, hypothetically, if like we pass this, when would this court actually be fixed, and when would that happen in opposition to, if we didn't approve it and then it just went into the CIP?
So if hypothetically this was added to the list, I mean, ultimately there still needs to be further action that would authorize the funding through more than likely the CIP process, which won't happen until this summer. So it would be unlikely that this project could be done this year anyway, even if the funding was available today, for instance, because of the fact that the Parks Department and city staff are obviously currently working on a number of projects this year. We would have to get a consulting firm hired to draw up the plans, and then obviously put the construction documents together, bid it out, and ultimately one or two other projects would have to be deprioritized in order to bump this up. So what we're talking about is, projects like the hub, the ag park that's under development, South Stoner Prairie Park, those sorts of things are all things that Parks Department is working on right now that we would have to potentially reallocate time to. So again, I think this is a great conversation for the CIP, and then ultimately that'll give staff direction based upon what the Common Council direction is, and if there's funding allocated for this court or other courts that will be available, we can begin to work that into our scope of work on all the projects.
Sure. Just another follow-up question for Scott. I mean, the pictures are pretty bad. Are these like physical hazards to people that could cause injuries?
Well, I think they could certainly trip. I think folks generally they understand the hazard, if you would. But I think they're getting there. I think they're getting there, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my bigger question, like, I don't want this to be like a liability to residents or ultimately to the city if like somebody gets hurt. I do have similar thoughts to Gabriella, but I would just say two additions to that is one, I think those two worst ones should be, or those four worst courts should be prioritized. And two, I would be interested in seeing like some sort of a ranking of like where our basketball courts throughout the city are, because I think that is information that would be useful to the council and as we shape future kind of policy around repairs and a potential fund.
I just wanted to say too that we've been moving in my tenure on the council over the last 4 years towards being more strategic in terms of how we use our money and how we replace. So we finally did a staffing plan, because before, and I was guilty of this too, I had certain positions that I was really passionate about, so I would put them in the budget, and those might not be the highest priority. So the staffing plan helps inform what we should be doing on an annual basis. Obviously, that can diverge, and alders can make different decisions, but at least we have a planning document that indicates what the plan would be long term. The same goes for roads, right? We have different road classifications, and we prioritize the worst quality roads, and there's a process in place so that we can make sure that when someone comes to us with a complaint, there's a reason why we're doing one before the other. And then we do that with stormwater infrastructure too. We have certain facilities that are the most important, that are the most like in crisis mode. So we've been moving in that direction in lots of different ways in the city. And I do think that the park infrastructure, given the challenges with replacing or repairing current equipment that we face, we should be doing it more strategically. We should have rankings, and we should say this is a priority based on, whatever the criteria is. And so I just think that this type of analysis that we're seeing here is a good discussion to have. And I do think that it is a question of, I think that should be a broad conversation like that. I like that idea that we talk about these courts holistically, because, we should also talk about the reality of what it's going to cost for putting together a replacement fund, because maybe we can't have a tennis court in every single one of those parks. Like maybe one of them will have to be removed because we just literally can't afford to pay for it, and it needs to be looked at holistically. So yeah, I agree, but I actually think that we should consider making this amendment broad. So making it add funding for repair of tennis and basketball courts, and then we can decide at a later date where that money would go through whatever process we put together.
Okay.
Yeah, one last thing I'll say is kind of based on some of the comments today is that this park, even though it's a neighborhood park, the Capital City Trail passes through it, so there's a lot of visibility, and just the idea of kind of a blight, as the amount of traffic that comes through on bikes, because Cap City is pretty heavily used. To me, that's a factor as well. Just this being a park that a lot of people see, want to be able to have a good representation of it, at the city level for both visitors and passersby.
Okay. Yes.
So this CIP project 6263, just since the rest of you may not have it pulled up in front of you, does allocate money every year. So this is putting aside, roughly $50,000 to $60,000 a year for the replacement of these facilities. Now, it's because there's so much stuff in the narrative of this. It looks like this covers the Chicory Meadow tennis court.
Can I jump in?
Yes.
So right before the upcoming projects on the bottom of that page, it says replacement funds, 2024 amounts. So that replacement fund is only for the McKee tennis courts at a 35-year replacement, the McGaw original pickleball courts at a 25-year replacement, and the McGaw additional pickleball courts at a 35-year replacement. So it's only those three two courts that are included in that replacement fund.
Well, underneath there it says 2024 Chicory Meadow court replacement, tennis court replacement, $160,000.
Funded by grants and donations.
Funded by grants and donations.
The replacement fund is levy money.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just saying that this project, this 6263 project, appears to cover all of the tennis and pickleball courts in the city. Is that correct?
It is intended to include them all, but it does not fund them all, how it is currently adopted.
I understand that. I get that. So it does look like we're putting money into the capital replacement fund moving forward, right?
Yes.
But only for those courts, only for McKee and McGaw.
Yes.
So if we look at 2029, let's say, this 52,814 doesn't include any possible money for replacing the Chicory Meadow court in 20 years?
That is not how it's currently designed.
Well, that's very confusing, because if we're going to list all of these courts in the description of this, why would we do that? Why would we have a capital replacement fund?
I think we discussed that last year and during the CIP.
So I'll hop in here. So this is all part of a larger conversation that I think nearly every one of you has brought up, that the city has the ability through developer fees to put in new park amenities, but is restricted by state statute to use those development fees to replace existing amenities or even maintain existing amenities. So because of the fact that these courts have been moved around in the CIP, this CIP account was actually created in Mayor Richardson's last year of his term, and it was put together recognizing that we were making an investment in the McKee Farms tennis courts with ARPA money, and that was going to be the one-time money used to get the replacement done because money had not been set aside for those courts. And he proposed, in consultation with staff, and ultimately this was approved by council, that we would set aside the estimated replacement costs for the McKee Farms Park, as well as the McGaw Park pickleball courts. In that account, it was clearly stated in the description as to what was happening. I understand why there may be some confusion why the other courts are listed, largely because they were left there with potential for fundraising and donation. Again, this is why the larger policy conversation is necessary, because at the end of the day, the council is going to need to decide, are they going to make investments in existing infrastructure, or are they going to utilize the money elsewhere for other needs that or services that are wished to be provided? So at the end of the day, we all know there's only so much money to go around, and we're trying to get there and ultimately have this conversation, and this amendment is a good reason to have the conversation again that we are going to be having a few months from now.
Well, I appreciate that, but if we're going to have a tennis court capital replacement fund, it ought to be adequate to cover all of the tennis courts over time. And what you're telling me now is this is not, and I was kind of wondering about that because I get to the end of 10 years and there's only $500,000 in there, which the McKee courts are going to would blow that away without even a second thought.
Could I just add something? Because I think how I think about it is if we replaced one of those tennis courts this year, that replacement fund would go up. Like, we would add funding to that replacement fund going forward. So, like, those numbers are static for now because it's a 10-year plan. But, like, if we replaced Chicory Meadows this year, that replacement fund for the life of the CIP project would go up every single year. So it's like the plan was, my understanding of the plan is that until we replace it, we're trying to create a plan that's like consistent to the future. So like we replace something and then we plan for saving to replace it later. I know that's just the rationale behind it. So like if you replace
that rationale doesn't make any logical sense. I understand it, but it doesn't make any sense.
I think we.
Well, if I may, though, I mean, I don't want to get into too much of a debate, but I think the reason why staff has been recommending these replacement accounts is because of what's happening with these courts, right? They keep getting pushed back and pushed back.
Right.
So if there's going to be a commitment made by the council through a policy direction, then yes, let's fix these courts and then set aside an appropriate amount of money each year so that when they need to be replaced, the council doesn't even have to think about it. The money's already there.
Yeah.
That's what the intent of these replacement accounts is
get
from
that,
staff.
But if we know that we have existing pieces of infrastructure that are going to have to be replaced, we should be setting aside money now, whether we've replaced them or not. It doesn't make sense to just wait until we replace it to start setting aside money.
Jay, you'll get no argument from staff on this, I can assure you of that. And we simply follow the policy direction that is set by council. So ultimately, if the council wants to direct staff to set aside more money every year for court replacement. We are more than happy to do that. We need to be directed to do that. And again, we're hoping that direction comes through the CIP process.
Well,
Okay.
here's where I'm at on this amendment right now. We have a bunch of courts that need to be replaced soon. I am not comfortable saying we're going to just fund this one neighborhood and not the other ones out of a TID-ARPA fund that's already at capacity. That really gives me a lot of discomfort because I think that creates an equity problem. I also think it creates an equity problem to tell residents, we've got your court in the capital improvement plan, but you have to go out and find the money to fix it. Because it's our responsibility as an elected body who supposedly runs the budget and is in charge of the financial management of the city to take care of these problems as they arise. So I think since this is already in the capital improvement plan for 2024, even though it's funded by donations, I think we need to find another funding mechanism and get it done. Just like we need to get the McGaw one of those courts done in 2025, and we probably need to plan to do the Swan Creek ones in 2026. But we need to not put the burden for this on the residents. They're already paying property taxes, as Dave pointed out. But I think taking this out of the TID-ARPA is just not the right strategy.
So the other thing that I want to clarify, this conversation was soon to happen during the CAP because we have been talking internally about tennis court and the plan. So I want to tell you that this conversation was coming. This amendment accelerate the conversation, but it was on the radar of us, okay? Gabriela.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the amendment to change it so that it's add funding for repair of tennis and basketball courts for any park.
There's a second.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yeah.
Jay.
Well, I still have discomfort funding this from the TID-ARPA fund,
Okay.
which is what the amendment
Okay.
is.
Yeah, my only issue with the amendment is that I think maybe if I can amend the amendment to the amendment, I don't know what the process is for that, but basically prioritizing the worst to I think it would make sense to prioritize McGaw with Chicory Meadow versus all the tennis courts.
Okay, I'm going to propose something. Why we don't vote down this amendment, and then we are going to discuss it during CIP plan, and we are going to come up with a plan to, what is going to be the plan to repair, which one, and and from where the money is going to come. I will recommend that because we are going to have that discussion in 2 months, and I think this is what we should be doing.
I think the bottom line is no matter how we vote on this isn't going to happen this year.
No, I know.
So I would prefer to fix this correctly
In the
under the
CIP.
capital improvement
Okay.
plan.
Okay.
And so when we get to 2025, we can do this the right way instead of, whatever is being attempted right now. There's no question that it needs to be done.
Yeah.
I just prefer that we do it the right way, and the right way is not asking the residents to come up with the money for it.
Yeah,
That's
we
just
already,
dumb.
okay, you already mentioned that. Bill, and this is the last question.
Yeah, just a question for Scott. So do we have a plan, since we've established this is not going to happen this year, do we have any sort of a plan in place for filling those cracks to make them less dangerous?
Yeah.
It would really be, it'd be difficult. We've had people take a look at them, Bill, and they're really to the point now where it just doesn't make sense to do that.
They're beyond repair, is what we've been told.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're too far gone, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, I was out there last summer, and the cracks are 2 and 3 inches wide and 3 inches deep. You can't even like fill them with sand or something to so that it's
Yeah.
impossible to get your toe caught in there.
Yeah, could be, and we can do that, isn't it?
Certainly, we can attempt to try and fill them, I guess.
I think we can assess if there's a viable option. I'm concerned that putting sand in those cracks creates a false sense of security, and it also, anytime it rains significantly, that sand is going to
okay.
potentially wash out, and we're really not going to be making any real headway there. So, again, this is clearly a conversation that is indicative of deferred maintenance and a policy conversation that needs to be addressed.
Okay.
One clarifying question for you, Misty. If this is not included in the ARPA TID investment plan at this time, can ARPA TID investment funding be used through the CIP process to ultimately address the policy call that's made by council?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In that case, I'll rescind my amendment.
Okay. So any other questions? So because we have more people here. Okay, so now I want to ask for roll call. So you can vote in favor of the amendment or against. And remember, we can, because we are going to continue discussing this during CIP. Okay, so okay.
Just to clarify,
Yeah.
Gabriella's amendment was withdrawn,
Yeah.
so we're voting on Dave's amendment.
Yes, correct.
Ready? Alder Allen?
No.
Alder Gerhardt?
No.
Alder Herps?
Aye.
Alder Jutser?
No.
Alder Maldonado?
Aye.
Alder Strassman?
Aye.
Alder Udell?
Aye.
Alder Wheeler?
Aye.
5-3, motion carried.
Okay. So the amendment was approved. Okay. Thank you.
And so now we need to approve the resolution
okay.
approving the entire plan.
Okay. So, okay, Randy, can you, so now we already have the resolution.
Yep.
So all of in favor of resolution R-16-24, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so what is next? Can you explain? So now the approve is in the ARPA, well, what is?
Yep, so next steps is I will spend some time over the next couple of weeks putting together the final adopted investment plan, and we'll post that out to the website. And then as Julia mentioned, the CIP process is kicking off kind of internally. The mayor's proposal comes out in a little bit, I think a month or two, and then we'll continue the conversation from there. This is a feeder-in document into the CIP and then into the budget process.
Okay. Okay, thank you. New business? Who is this? Bill, can you talk about this? Can you go? Bill?
Okay, I will move approval for Resolution R-3624, approving professional services for the Tower Hill Park Shelter renovation project.
Second.
Did the Board of Public Works approve?
Public Works approved.
Did the Park Commission approve?
Parks approved.
Did the Finance Committee approve?
Finance Committee approved.
Okay, thank you. What is this?
This is for design work for the renovation of the Tower Hill Park Shelter. So there was an RFP put out. There were, I believe, 3 respondents, and Angus Young was chosen as the design firm. We've worked with them before, right, Scott? Yeah. They were the low bidder.
Okay, okay, Jay.
Yeah, this is, we had seen those pictures of the Tower Hill shelter, and I've been there. I thought we were scraping it and starting over. This says it's a renovation project.
I asked that question at the Board of Public Works meeting, and Scott says we're keeping the bones and we're going to put new flesh on it.
I see. Okay.
Okay, Dave?
Jay, I would just add, the McGough shelter was in, similar bad shape. And if you look at it now, you'd say, well, really? We reused the existing structure because it's really quite nice. So I'll give them, I think it'll work.
Okay, any other questions? I think it's time because it's a 40-year-old shelter, so.
50, I think, right?
50? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, all those in favor of resolution R-3624 say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion
Aye.
carried. So next one, Randy.
Move to approve Resolution R-45-24, approving professional services agreement with Allison Brunette Consulting, LLC, for strategic planning services.
Second.
Okay, what is this, Randy?
Finance approved, by the way.
Okay.
I don't know if there were any other committees.
Chat this one up.
Yeah, I can cover this one.
Yeah.
As you'll recall, in the ARPA TID investment plan, money was set aside to hire a consultant to aid the city in creating an overall strategic plan. The city, in its 40-year existence, to anyone's recollection, has not had an overreaching strategic plan such as this. This strategic plan will be designed in such a way to help identify where the city would like to go over the next 5 years, and then furthermore to help prioritize those initiatives and or things that we want to do with the resources that we have. The city put out an RFP, request for proposals, back in January that received 13 proposals in response from companies across the nation. We created an internal work group of approximately 6 employees to review all of those proposals that had been submitted. And ultimately, 3 of the proposals were selected for further consideration. Those vendors were interviewed via video conference. And ultimately, the work group narrowed down those 3 to Allison Brunette Consulting. And we have negotiated scope of services with this firm, and you have that in front of you. I will note that you will be receiving some additional information in the coming weeks in regards to this particular process. All department heads and elected officials will have a one-on-one interview with this consulting firm, and there will also be surveys for staff, and I believe elected officials will be included in the survey as well. There'll be a couple of focus group meetings with external community stakeholders, and then we're also exploring the possibility of 2 separate one-day workshops with department heads and elected officials as we look to work with this consultant to craft this strategic plan. We had budgeted approximately $100,000, or at least identified up to $100,000 for this project. I'm pleased to say that this request came in at less than $50,000 and was also the most cost-effective of the proposals.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Bill?
So this is a 5-year plan, and is this something that we're going to, is this going to be an ongoing thing, and how often do we look at this 5-year plan?
Ideally, we'll take a look at this on a regular intervals during that 5 years, whether that's 1 year or 2 years. Obviously, we can determine that, but then ultimately, yes, this plan should be ultimately revised every 5 years, and we should take stock on what we've accomplished in that 5 years, confirm if the existing things that have not been accomplished are still priorities for the city and Common Council at that time, and potentially add new things and or reaffirm what's on there and still needs to be completed.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. We need 2/3 of the vote for this one, so I will ask for a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Allen.
Aye.
Alder Gerhart.
Aye.
Alder Herbst.
Aye.
Alder Jetzer.
Aye.
Alder Maldonado.
Aye.
Alder Strassman.
Aye.
Alder Udell.
Aye.
Alder Wheeler.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you. Okay, so next we move to item action on claim. So before we start, Valerie is here. Where is Valerie? So Valerie is going to explain to us what is this, how the process works, okay? Okay, Valerie.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you, there are 4 actions on claims. All of them are similar in nature insofar as they're requesting the council refund a portion or all, depending on the claim, of the property taxes that the taxpayer has paid. You will also note that after each item, there is a closed session that has been noticed, as is required by the open meetings law. We have added those closed sessions so that we would have the option to go into closed session. I will tell you all right now that I don't expect that we will need to exercise that option, but the law does require us to notice it if we wanted to be able to do that. And so those closed sessions are available to you if you decide you want to do that. The closed session would only be limited for purposes of consulting with me with regard to some legal advice that I would be rendering. So as far as getting information from the property owner as well as the city assessor, that would be done in open session. Again, I don't expect that we'll need to utilize those closed sessions, but in the event that you want to have that option is available to you.
Okay, so we are going to start with the first claim. So we have our assessor here, Chris. So the first claim was on Brandon and Erin Hickey. I don't know how to pronounce. So can you explain what it is? And I don't know if you guys decided you want to have this closed session or you feel comfortable to have open? Okay. Okay, open now? Okay. Okay, so Chris.
All right. Good evening, everybody.
This is what
So some of the kind of, salient facts here. This is a residential property. It was new construction. The build started in 2022. And in reviewing it for the 2023 assessment roll, the assessment date is 1/1 of 2023. We did not get out to inspect the property until January 19th of 2023. So we pegged the property at that point at 65% complete. Shortly thereafter, so I started on January 10th, kind of picked up where we were, like I said, short-staffed. We'd gotten behind on some stuff. So this is one of the things that had gotten left behind a little bit. So we valued the property at 65% complete for 1/1 of 2023. Didn't dial it back based on, a few weeks worth of progress. Long story short, we sent out notices or, a notice of value on this property to the builder. So the odd part is, with this one at least, the property owner purchased the property on the same day we sent out our notices, so they did not get a notice of change assessment. And therefore, we didn't hear from them during the appeals process. In December of 2023, I was contacted by the property owner, Brandon Hickey. Felt his tax bill was a little bit higher than what they expected. At that point, we started kind of discussing. I shared with him where we had the property at as far as percent complete. He, at that point, said he did not feel it was that far along. He emailed me some photos that were date stamped, and they're the same ones that are in the agenda packet. Looking at those, determined that the actual percent complete for 1/1 of 2023 should have been somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30%. In the claim that the property owner filed, they are requesting a refund of $3,755 based on a value that I had provided him if the property were 30% complete. given all these facts at hand, I think it would make sense to refund the property owner this portion of the tax bill, and I would request that council approve the claim as presented.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Jay.
I would move approval of the claim.
Second that motion.
It was already second by Randy. Okay, any additional discussion, comment? No? All those in favor of approving the claim, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The claim was approved. Okay, so we are in item F. Action claim on MMS Treverton LLC, 2979 Treverton Pike Drive. Okay, Chris, what is this?
Sure. So this one is for an office building over on Treverton Pike Drive. The property owner filed a exemption request, or agent of the property owner filed an exemption request for the 2023 tax roll. In the claim that was submitted to the clerk's office, and as presented before you here, the property owner filed for exemption based on Wisconsin state statutes 70.11 subsection 4 subsection A and 70.11 subsection 4D as property for skilled nursing facilities and or facilities licensed, certified, or registered under Chapter 50 services and or retirement homes for the aged. So this, like I said, it was an exemption request. The exemption request after review last year was denied. I'd be happy to pull up the statutes. They're quite wordy. The gist of it is essentially that, let me pull it up here. So property or subsection 4 subsection A states that property used must be owned by and used exclusively for purposes, in this case of skilled nursing facilities, like a few things I mentioned earlier, retirement homes for the aged, and 70.11 4D refers to benevolent retirement homes for the aged. So like I said, this is an exemption request. I reviewed it. I went out and inspected the property in early February of 2023 when we were doing our yearly personal property reviews. At the time, most of the property was vacant. About 6% of the property at the time was occupied by a non-related for-profit tenant. And like I said, the remainder of the square footage was vacant. So with that in mind, the property wasn't being used for exempt purposes, and therefore we denied the exemption request. I believe the property should not be property tax exempt, and as such, I would respectfully request that the council deny the claim.
Okay, so, okay, 1 second. So she's talking on F, yes, okay.
I believe, Madam Mayor, I think we may have a representative for the taxpayer.
I got I thought it was, okay. So we have with us Christina Sommer. She's an attorney from Reinhardt Law. Okay, Christina?
Yes. Good evening, yep. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, everyone. As the assessor indicated, just to give a little bit of background, so there's this property and then another property coming up also on the agenda on Chapel Valley Road. These properties were purchased by limited liability entities, the sole members or sole ultimate owners of which are Marquardt Village. As the assessor indicated, the Marquardt Village is a nonprofit entity that's dedicated to providing services for seniors, including skilled nursing, assisted living, and retirement homes for the aged. So these properties were purchased to provide support services for these other exempt properties, such as human resources, payroll, management, and those types of services. Providing support services does qualify for exemption under Wisconsin property tax law. One of the reasons these properties were purchased was to be able to consolidate some of these support services and more efficiently provide them for the exempt property tax purposes. When these properties were purchased, it was necessary to do some renovation on them to make them work for the purposes for which they were purchased. We, as the assessor indicated, these refund claims relate to tax year 2023. I think we had some initial email discussion regarding the partial exemption claim, because as mentioned, there were some residents or some tenants that remained with the property after acquisition. Notably, we did not seek exemption for these spaces. We only sought a partial exemption for the space to be used for exempt purposes. I think we had some of that email discussion, and I believe we properly addressed the issue of partial exemption versus partial taxation, which is permitted under Wisconsin law. The next question related to the renovations and the construction that was ongoing. I think the assessor did an impromptu visit, I believe, in early February, and we did not have an opportunity to take him around to show him the work that was being done, so it's not exactly clear what was seen or not seen. I think what our position is that it may be helpful to have follow-up discussions with the assessor as to be clear, property under construction to be used for exempt purposes does indeed qualify for exemption. I'm hopeful that those discussions will provide some additional information that may lead to resolution of these exemption claims and identify the percentage that should be treated as exempt versus the percentage that should be treated as taxable. So with that, I respectfully ask the council to set this out for another meeting, as it does have 90 days to act, and to allow for additional discussions between myself and the assessor.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Any questions?
Well, I'd like to hear Valerie's thoughts on it.
Okay. Valerie or Chris, yes.
Well, I would just add that I wasn't initially involved in the conversations, as during the board of the review process, generally the city attorney represents the board of review and not the assessor. And so the assessor had retained outside counsel for purposes of consultation. It is my understanding that the assessor did consult with an attorney in reaching the conclusion. I can't speak to the conversations and emails that Attorney Summers and the assessor had, as I wasn't party to them. So I guess I would just defer to our assessor of the matter.
So I guess my response would be, property, there was a recent court decision in that property that is readying itself for exempt use doesn't necessarily always qualify for exemption. In this case, when I did my walkthrough, I could tell that there had been some minor, demolition work done, but by and large, it when I walked in, it was more or less a vacant office space. And that's why we elected to not grant the exemption.
Could I briefly respond?
Yes, you can do it.
Okay, thank you so much. I think these discussions with the assessor would be helpful. I think the cases, while certainly if you are almost fully complete and, for example, waiting for staff, that certainly qualifies for exemption. I think the Wisconsin Property Assessment Manual is clear that under construction does qualify. So, for example, if you are engaged in demolition, which is necessary to do that construction, then that property should qualify for exemption. Obviously there are some different perspectives here, but I guess I would hope the assessor would be open to some discussions to see if any additional information I can provide might shed some light, and if we can resolve it before the 90 days for the Common Council to act on these refund claims.
Okay, Jay?
And if I may...
Okay, Valerie and then Jay.
I just wanted to ask Attorney Summers if the taxpayer in this case and the other property that you had mentioned that's further down on the agenda, if the property has filed or intends to file a new exemption for the new tax year?
We did, yes. That was filed for 2024.
Jay?
And as part of the discussions for relating to the tax year 2023 refund claims, we'd certainly be happy and welcome the opportunity to discuss the 2024 exemption request with the city and assessor as well. So it might be a good opportunity to have those combined discussions.
Okay,
So-
have a question here.
Yeah,
Okay, Jay.
Chris, did you have the impression as you were walking through that this was a demolition in progress in anticipation of a reconstruction?
When I went through, if I remember, I remember seeing some like mechanical work, maybe some duct work a little bit. It wasn't super extensive at the time. It was, very similar to a lot of like white box office. If you come in, you might redo some things. It didn't seem like it was a complete overhaul of the building, at least from what I recall. One other, I guess, point to probably note that I think is important. In the claim that was submitted, the property owner requested refund for the entire tax bill. So the claim is for $32,984.66. And in this case, even if there was a partial exemption, it does not seem appropriate to request a refund for the entire tax bill. So I think the claim is presented before the council currently, I don't think is appropriate given the fact that at the very least there's some of the property that should be exempted. So I think this claim that was provided should be, like I said, I would request that it would be denied. But just a point, that's all.
Jay?
Yeah, I would move denial of this claim, and if so need, you can refile it another time, but I just think this claim is not appropriate right now.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of denying the MMS Treverton LLC 2979 Treverton Pike Drive, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the claim is denied. Thank you. So next we move to another claim. I, discussion and possible action on claim for MS Treverton LLC. No, sorry. It's 10 o'clock. Okay. It's the Lieutenant Marion C. Cranfield, Post 1318. So I have a person here to register to speak in opposition, and is Ray Trent. Ray? Huh? Okay, so come, Chris. Okay, come you, but we are going to first hear the assessor, okay? Chris, can you present the case?
Yeah, sure. So this is another kind of exemption appeal, more or less. So this is the VFW post out on 2740 Ski Lane. This is, as you may know, in the township of Madison prior to our annexation a little over a year and a half ago. So the current property owner, Lieutenant Marion C. Cranfield, Post 1318, purchased the property on December 28th, 2020, and was granted partial exemption by the town of Madison assessor. The property was largely vacant for, I think it was entirely vacant actually as of 1/1 of 2021 when the exemption was granted. So aside from, as I mentioned previously, vacant property, it doesn't qualify for exempt use. Property has to be both owned by and used for exempt purposes. So this property, like I said, purchased in 2020, vacant for most of 2021 and partially in 2022. Throughout that time in 2021 and in early 2022, there was a significant renovation done to convert part of the building into a bar and restaurant. So I spoke with a representative from the VFW, and the like I said, the property is renovated throughout about a year and a few months, and then the bar and restaurant opened to the public in March of 2022. So further, in the property assessment manual and state statute 70.11, exempt property owners are not required to reapply for exemption if the use, occupancy, or ownership did not change in a way that would make it taxable. In this case, the property was vacant for 1/1 of 2021, renovated throughout 2021 and early 2022, and opened to the public in March 2022. Additionally, throughout that time period, part of the property was leased out to a for-profit, non-related tenant for non-exempt uses. And so all these things occurred after that initial exemption was granted. With that in mind, the use changed of the property, and therefore the property owner was required to reapply for property tax exemption for 2023. We did not receive a property tax exemption request for 2023, and therefore we assessed the property as fully taxable. As Valerie mentioned, I spoke with our outside legal counsel, Amy Seibel, on this one, and she confirmed, the kind of rationale that I had operated under, and feels that the property was correctly non-exempted. So with that in mind, again, I would respectfully request that the council deny the claim.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
Somebody with a question.
Oh no, you can speak first.
Okay, so when we purchased the property, there was a tenant already upstairs. So the building upstairs was occupied the whole time while we were going under construction downstairs for the VFW. So we are a nonprofit organization. What we do is, why we have this is to raise funds for the veteran community, both in Fitchburg, Madison, and whoever the veterans are that we can help. So the building was not empty the whole time. It is true that we opened up March of 2022 and started to operate as a bar. It's a place for veterans to go and for the community to go to get reasonable price food, reasonable drinks. Myself, I have opened this up to all first responders from Madison, from Fitchburg, to have a place to go to have their dinners, their banquets, whatever they want to do for the holidays. So what we do as a veterans community is try to keep this community going and offer it to the rest of the community to help the first responders that are out there. Anybody here that wants to have a party there, we don't charge you to have a party. You come in there, you use our space, and we feel that's what we should do as veterans and anybody giving back to our community. So we have served, all of us has served our country, and we continue to give back when we come here. So we feel and I think, I'm not a lawyer, so I was a service member for 26 years. So, but we do fall under to where we can be tax exempt on half of the building. We're not asking for the whole thing. We understand that the tenant upstairs must pay taxes, the property tax, but for the portion that we have downstairs is what we are asking to be refunded for the be tax exempt, which should be $16,143.47. That's what we were asking for our part of it, not upstairs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comment. Who has a question? Jay and then Dave.
Yeah, Chris, so this has come about mainly because a form wasn't filed correctly or on time. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, so as context, they submitted a new property tax exemption request for 2024 that I have yet to review, so I can't speak to the specifics of it. But yes, Based on when I spoke with Amy, our legal counsel, based on the facts that we had at hand with a renovation taking place, the use of the building changed from vacant to bar and restaurant. Now, that bar and restaurant may very well qualify for exemption. I don't know that, but the use changed, and therefore the property tax or the property owner would be required to file for reapply for exemption.
Right.
And they did not.
If the form had been, if they had applied and if they had been granted the exemption, would these amounts be correct?
Oh, sure. So that was another point. So the property tax refund claim that they have is based off of subtracting their current tax bill for 2023 from their 2022 tax bill, which again I believe is an erroneous calculation because there's a lot of different factors there. It's town of Madison assessor, different value, different taxes, different tax rate. So I don't think that on its own would make the claim appropriate, but.
Dave.
If any of you grew up in a small town, quite like I did, the VFW is quite often the center of many things. When I was married, my wedding reception was in the VFW. They have a bar at the one. They serve food. I just can't see the benefit what they are providing to the veterans in our community. I realize that there's an error on their part in the form, but I don't believe they should be taxed for that lower portion.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment? Okay, Jay.
Valerie, are they able to amend this claim at this point, or is this claim just what it is?
I think this claim is what it is. If the council were inclined to grant it, but wanted to direct staff before doing so to calculate what the appropriate refund would be, had, at least based on the calculations of the assessor, that's something I think the council could consider.
Okay.
Or certainly, I think the taxpayer could request to amend their claim and have some conversations with the assessor. I think my thought is, and Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, that Chris would need some time to figure that out if that's the direction the council wants to go.
So if that was the direction we wanted to go, would we move to postpone it, or would we move to approve it with direction to staff?
I think you could do either. I would just ask that if you move to approve of direction to staff, that direction be very clear.
Okay. All right. I think what I would like to do at this point is move to postpone this. How long, Chris, would it take for you to work with them to come up with what would be an appropriate number had the form been filed on time?
Well,
I mean, can we do it in 2 weeks, or do you need a month?
Well, it would require, a full review of their exemption request, and to determine whether or not it would qualify. Yeah, I would say a couple weeks is probably fine.
Okay.
I could probably get it done.
In that case, I would move to postpone this for 2 weeks while staff works with the VFW to try to find the right answer to this question.
Second.
Chris and or Valerie, are you available in 2 weeks if this is postponed for 2 weeks? I want to make sure that staff availability is noted.
Yes,
yes. I believe so.
I apologize. I'm not available at the next meeting. However, if the council is just looking for numbers and kind of has a sense of where you want to go, I'm not sure that you need me.
So we can do it in April.
Yeah, I mean.
Or we could move this to April 9th, I believe. Let me take a look. I believe this claim was filed at the end of January, so February, March, April. That would allow us still some time to
Can I add maybe a couple points that are also worth at least hearing on this thing?
Okay.
So, in emailing with the property owner, or not the property owner, a representative, there was a permit that had been pulled to perform these renovations, and it was to the tune of, let me get it pulled up here, I believe. Total build out cost was, let me find it here. I believe the permit was for around $1 million, and then I think when I heard from them, hang on. Bear with me.
Heads are nodding, Chris.
The total build out cost was $960,000. The renovation work was completed in March 2022. Their attorney, in the email chain, their attorney from Axley was also included, and he had stated that that if the use changed, that they would have had to have reapplied for exemption. So I believe at least their legal counsel, I assume they knew that, given that they stated that in the email chain. And one last piece here, just worth considering. There was, in the property assessment manual, there is several court decisions scattered throughout the property assessment manual. It's a 1,000-page document. In there, as you might expect, there's a lot relating to property tax exemption. And specifically, there's one relating to a VFW that was a bar, or I had a bar, and it was open to members, of course, of the VFW, but they were able to bring up to 10 guests to the facility, to the bar. And that court decision back in 1976, I believe it was, determined that part of the property was taxable. Now, in that court case, there was part of the property that was used for what they call like a clubhouse or a memorial. That part of the property was exempt. However, the bar and restaurant area that was open partially to the public was ruled taxable by the court. So those were just a few points I would add, and see if I can find it. The exact name of it.
Well, if you can just review that, and I guess I'll amend my thing to do this on April 9th.
Okay.
And I'm sure Randy's okay with that.
Sounds good.
Okay. Okay. So everyone, we're postponing. Okay. All those in favor of postponing to April 9, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So next we move to what is? Oh, we have another one.
Oh, yeah.
We have another claim is MMS Chapel Valley LLC, 2970 Chapel Valley Road. So Chris, can you explain where it is? And then we have Christina Somers also. She wishes to speak in this case too.
Sure. So this is the same story as the 29, the Triverton Pike property. It's owned by a different LLC, but I believe the managing member, sole member of the LLC is the same owner. Most of the same facts apply. The property owner had applied for property tax exemption for 2023 under the same statute 7011 4A or subsection 4 subsection A and 7011 subsection 4D as property for skilled nursing facilities. In this case, it's another office building. It's right across the street, I believe, or right around the corner. And it was, I walked through it again early February, largely vacant. At that time, it looks like I had noted about 14% of the property was occupied by non-related for-profit tenants. The remainder of the square footage of the building was vacant. Again, based on these facts, the property was not being used for exempt purposes, and therefore, I believe the property at the time did not qualify for property tax exemption. There was a property tax exempt request filed for 1/1/24 on this one, so I'll review that within the next few weeks here. But in this case, for 1/1/2023, I do not believe the property should have been exempted, and I would respectfully request that the council deny the claim as presented.
Okay, thank you. Christina?
Yes. Hello again, everyone. So similarly, I think there's a difference of perspective in terms of, I believe the assessor viewed it as vacant. I think the facts would show that the property was under construction to be used for an exempt purpose. So again, that does qualify for exemption. We were not asking for exemption for any of the spaces leased to third-party tenants. This property is used to support exempt purposes and used for administrative purposes in that support, and it does qualify for exemption. So again, I always welcome the opportunity to have these discussions with the assessor. We didn't have those. If any come up for 2024, I would welcome those. So we could hopefully have them sooner rather than in front of the Common Council. But I think I would disagree that it was vacant. It was under construction, which does qualify for exemption.
Okay, thank
One
you.
more thing, if I may.
Okay.
Similar to the last one, the property, the claim for tax refund here is for the full scope of the property, $35,134.08. So in the same case as the other one, and if there is some tenants in there, those would be taxable. And so claiming the full tax bill, I think is not appropriate in this one.
And if I could just briefly respond, we just heard some discussion with the prior property where the Common Council would allow the assessor to review and modify and determine the appropriate refund. If that's appropriate for that property, it should apply to all properties. So we would adjust the requested refund to as consistent with the exemption request to limit it to to not include the tenant space.
Okay, thank you. Jay?
So similar to the other one, I will move to deny this claim.
Second.
So we have a second. So any additional comments? No? All those in favor of denying the claim say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion is approved. Thank you. Thank you, Christina. Okay, so we are in item 11. So it's almost 10 o'clock. It's mayor's report. So we're going to be brief. Oh my God, I am so sleepy, sorry. So we know, we heard about the good news about the BRT. So something that I will tell you that I'm going to add in the CIP because I want to discuss the extension of the BRT from Aki to the Civic Campus. So that one is going to be coming in this, I would like to see in the CIP. So the other thing is the referendum. So everyone has received the survey, isn't it? Okay. So I hope you are doing your homework. March 22nd is the deadline. I also had the opportunity, I am continuing meeting with all the stakeholders and partners and city partners. So I met with the Oregon School District Superintendent and the board chair and the Fitchburg rep last week. And I think we have a great conversation, and I was very impressed with that district, what they're trying to do. So we have Oregon School District, it's a great school district. So also attended with the city administrator to the Dane County City and Village Association in-person meeting last week. The meeting was in Cambridge, and it was, it's a good interaction with other mayors or village president, for networking, and also we have a presentation by Madison Metro. I also did a ride-along with our police department and also fire department in the last 2 weeks, and they will recommend that if you have the possibility, do the same, because it's another way to learn about our officer and firefighter, and so I will recommend that. I also met with the chair of the housing committee. We have got a great discussion about all our housing initiative and the goal for 2024. Also, I met with the Fitchburg Historical Society for a project that I presented to them, and we'll see if they are going to do it. And last Friday, Mayor Sacha Rhodes Conway invited a group of mayors to discuss issues that are affecting all our municipality. It was a great collaboration to work and connect with other mayors, and most of our issues, housing, transportation, all of that, is every municipality is going through the same. So it's a good collaboration group. And then attending the Fitchburg. An event in Fitchburg, the Latino Chamber of Commerce organized the International Women's Day last Friday. I was able to attend and did a welcoming to all of the guests. So it was a great event. So that's it for me. If you have any question, yes.
I have one question about the survey, Chad. If somebody accidentally threw out their mailing or something, what do they do?
They can contact the clerk's office and either get a new paper copy or be provided with an online code.
Thank you.
I know that during the police facility kind of conversations, we talked about the possibility of looking into the CARES program, like an extension of it into Fitchburg. Are there any updates on that?
No,
those
there is no
conversations?
update right now.
Okay.
That is still working.
Okay.
The other thing that I did today, I recorded a video about this in Spanish, and Chad did one in English. So, okay. Okay, I will start with District 4.
Yes, on Thursday I went, observed some training with the Fitchburg Police Department, EMS, Middleton Police Department, and also our firefighters doing the active shooter event.
Mm-hmm.
It was really interesting because I had to talk to the firefighter about when I started, and we started having firefighters join police officers to actually go into a zone during the shooting. The firefighters were like, no way. The chiefs were, we're not doing it. You guys deal with the guns. We'll put fires out. And I'm glad to see that has really changed to where our firefighters now have the equipment to go in with the police officers and go into a building. Now, we'll clear the first part of it. That's called the hot zone. But then we got the warm zone. And we want the firefighters to feel safe. And we will protect them. They use the armored car that some people find offensive, to drive around in to protect our people, our personnel, when they have to go into a hot zone to evacuate people doing these things. So that was great. And Friday, it so happened that the Uvalde report came out from the investigator that was hired by the city. People were not happy because he exonerated all the officers during that incident. I read the report and I could kind of see where the retired detective who did the report was coming from. Because when the officers made the initial assault, 2 officers were injured by shrapnel. So if you're injured, somebody's shooting at you, what are you going to do? You're going to come back and you're going to regroup. And they decided to start having a different plan. The United States Department of Justice slammed that and said, you don't do that. You get hurt, you do a tactical pause, and you go right back to stop the killing. They also basically said that officers may be the only ones that are going to go, and the only thing that they have is their sidearm and whatever equipment's on the belt. And that's why I reacted. I'm really into this stuff. I get passionate about it because that was my life. I did a lot of training in emergency preparedness, active shooting. So when an alder on this council said that they don't approve of spending taxpayer money to teach our officers how to shoot, I am still appalled. I really am. Because the expectation is that that officer go towards the bullets and to stop a threat. And if we don't want to support our officers and train them to do that, let the officers know. I think they deserve to be able to be trained to do that. I expect it from officers when I provided training that they learn how to overcome that ability for self-survival and say, run towards the bullets because you have to save lives. That's just the way it works. So you may not like police, you may want to defund the police, but police have a duty to actually do what we are trained to do to keep this community safe. I tried to say some of this during the February 13th meeting, but obviously I got shouted down because people didn't want to hear it. They'd rather call our officers rapists, murderers, perpetuate domestic violence, which I don't think is fair to our officers. Now, nobody wants to change policing more than I do. I grew up in Philadelphia. I heard the stories from my uncles. When my dad gave me the talk, he pleaded with me to keep my hands on the steering wheel. I saw the articles in the Philadelphia Inquirer of the abuse. There's still a picture in my mind of a person who was interrogated and the officers had a lamp, hot light bulb, and put it on his back. And you could see the outline of the light bulb. I was actually stopped in my uniform, in my unmarked car, while I was on duty. So if anybody really wants to reform police, I do. And I get really passionate about it when people think that they could go on the internet and all of a sudden learn everything about the system of policing and then give their opinion. Because unless you commanded a unit, unless you commanded officers, unless you have years of service, you don't know the system. Brandon Johnson, I follow him. They were putting people into his administration, and he got some people from the Daley administration. And one thing I liked what that person said, you got to know the system to fix the system. And systems have informal and formal mechanisms. And you may be able to go onto the internet and, I know everything about policing. Never wore a uniform, never walked a beat, never went to a homicide. But I can tell you, you don't know much. Because one thing, to change police, you got to change culture. And one of the things that I tried to say, again, and this is why, and I'm going to put the whole training, I'm going to put that aside. Because my thing is the complacency on training. And when you got a person who never have seen a black person before, when I did interviews, the only time they seen black people was when, hey, I came to the University of Wisconsin. And I'm like, did you eat with them? Did you have class with them? And they do that interview. You got to now train that person to get every bias out of that system in order for them to now go into marginalized neighborhoods and the police effectively. You really do. And that includes DAT training. People may not like it, but one thing you know from DAT training is your capabilities and what you can't do. I had the unfortunate experience of, if you look at my face closely, hockey stick over the head, punched in the head stitches. I know that I can fight through some of this stuff. But when you look at constitutionally what's justified as deadly force, I think the bar is pretty low. And I'd rather have people who can fight their way out of something than shoot their way out of something. Because the only thing it takes is Graham versus Connor. The only thing I got to be is objectively reasonable. It means I don't have to be right. I just got to be reasonable. And that's why you see black males getting shot that are unarmed. They feared for their safety. You got to train these officers to have common sense. You got to train them to have confidence. And you got to train them to do the right thing for the right reasons. And you know what? That was another thing I wanted to say. Policing, you get wide discretion. And when I said just because you can doesn't mean you have to. And doing the right thing isn't always doing the right thing. Let me tell you how sometimes black people get jacked up. Wisconsin state law says that you can't have anything obstructing your windshield. How do black people get pulled over? They got the little fresheners hanging from the mirror. Now, can they stop that person for obstructing a windshield? Yep, they can. Do they have to? It's like, what are the reasons why you are doing that? How many times you go down the road and you see the handicap placard hanging from the mirror? How many times you got people with big phones attached to the windshield? I'm pretty sure they don't get pulled over a lot. But for African American or some of our Hispanic people, that could be a reason that you pull somebody over. You got to train that out of people. You got to train them to do the right thing for the right reasons. And just because you can doesn't mean you have to. The interesting thing about Uvalde, which I really, like I said, I get into this stuff, is that none of the teachers or the administrators was threatened to be charged with crimes. It was a grand jury convened to prosecute the officers or to figure out charge for the officers. And the reason I brought that up is because due to my training, I had to do assessments at the Madison Metropolitan School District. And part of that is that you lock doors. You read the report of Uvalde, they were very complacent on locking doors. And that's why people were killed, because the doors weren't locked. They know that happened, but they didn't. I don't know why they don't charge them or convene a grand jury for that. But the police, we got to run toward the bullets, and if we don't, you're going to charge us. When I did assessments for Madison Metropolitan School District, it's so interesting how people actually were resistant to that simple thing of locking the doors. The excuses were, we got to keep getting up because the kids want to go to the bathroom. It's a pain. And I'm just like, okay. And I tried to show them. Active shooters, they want to kill as many people as possible. And they're not going to sit there and try to go into a door. And we tell people to lock the doors so that you could give police officers time to get there so that we can stop the threat, stop the killing. That's what's expected from the United States Department of Justice. I tried to talk about this again on February 13th, but got shouted down when in 2018 in Middleton, Wisconsin, at Paradigm, an employee got up and started shooting people. 2018. And it was due to the training of those officers that went in there and stopped the threat. And you can look at it's a video out there, the body cam video's out there. You can see what the officers had to do. I hear people complaining about the ballistic shields that officers carry. Oh, that's too militaristic. Well, look at the officer as he's trying to hold a ballistic shield going to the shots. That's something that the United States Department of Justice said, you got to train for that. Because if you ever held a ballistic shield and try to aim a weapon, yeah, you're not going to shoot too well unless you're training to do that, to go toward the threat. and stop it. I'm sorry, just trying to get my thoughts together.
No, it's fine.
When I go to the schools now, this is how much this is ingrained in me. I mentor. Last year, I mentor at Stone Prairie. This year is at Fords Edge Elementary. First thing I do when I walk through the door, okay, how's the security set up? Is everybody checking in? Do everybody have a badge on? Are the doors locked? Do that all the time. And luckily, at Verona, at Stone Prairie, I was pleasantly surprised when I was done and I took my name tag off. And I didn't go out the main door, but I wanted to go to my mentee to tell him something like, have a good weekend or something like that. And I was confronted by school staff. And I was like, thank you. I actually went to the principal and said, thank you. Because that's the way it should be, so that we can protect our children. Alder Udell and I, we met with the police chief today. We had a meeting, and we talked about this stuff. And I actually asked, because I got 2 schools in my district, I got major employers in my district, I asked him to go contact people who's in charge of emergency preparedness and making evacuation plans and make sure that we're on the same page so that this should happen in the city of Fitchburg. Our officers can respond appropriately to stop the threat, to stop the killing, because that is what is expected by the United States Department of Justice. And if something bad happens, who do you think is going to come in? Anybody going to go into the mic, tell the public, well, we don't want to train our police officers, so, whatever happens, happens. Freedom, Inc. should not be directing what happens in this city. They should not be able to come in and talk about Monona, talk about Madison, or whatever, and decisions are made based on that. This is the city of Fitchburg. Freedom, Inc. did that in Madison when we were talking about the cops in schools. Not one case did they bring up where the Madison police officers abused a kid. Not one. This happened in Ohio. Oh, see, Madison police are bad. This happened in Cincinnati. Madison police are bad. Got to get the cops out of schools. Freedom, Inc. do not like police officers. They want to defund the police. And when I see in the paper that, well, they represent the community, I ask Fitchburg residents, is that who you want representing this community? Is that who you want directing what we do as police officers? Policing is very complex. We got a lot of duties to do. And to just look at one piece and say, well, we fixed this piece, we're good. No, it doesn't happen that way. Look what's happening in New York right now. Well, we just take money away from the police. Everything's going to be okay. Now the governor has activated 750 National Guard people to be in the subways, along with state police and other officers, because people forgot about policing. Not only do you have to take care of crime, but to fear crime. And as soon as that fear of crime goes up, usually people overreact. And that's when bad things happen. We saw it in Breonna Taylor. Louisville Police Department was one of the models for 21st century policing. The uptick in crime, all of a sudden you put those street units together that basically sometimes are not supervised properly, and you get bad things that happen. Tyree Nichols, a lot of police reforms going in, uptick in crime, let's put the Scorpion unit together. Unsupervised and just out there. And it bothers me that that happens because we're not taking a comprehensive approach to policing. We're doing a give me money and crime is stopped. And I'm for one, let's take a lot of the stuff away from policing. The mayor and I had discussions about workload, correct, Mayor? So that we don't actually need policing or so many cops. But we got to do it together. I don't know in any business where you have a system, you want to replace it with another system, and you just totally turn off the previous system and just go with the others without making sure both of them work. It doesn't happen. And like I said, as a black male, trying to do my best to change policing when I was a police officer, I only went up for promotion because I said I want to watch the store. Meaning I wanted to make sure officers did things correctly, and I went for sergeant. Then I went for lieutenant because I said I got to do a little bit more. And then when I went for captain, it was because I could do two things: influence culture and policy. And if you don't understand that police culture, don't even try to think that you can solve the problem. Because that culture, everybody's talking about it now. We have body cameras, we got policies, we got laws, officers are getting arrested. We have oversight committees, and officers are still doing the same thing. Mark Mariel, National Director of Urban League, culture. Reverend Al Sharpton, culture. We had a person from the 100 Black Men try to speak at Leopold. He got shut down. Culture. NAACP, culture. If you really want to change something, sit down with people and do it together. There's lots of information out there. Information from credible people. When I say credible, they've been doing it for a long time. Arizona State University, Problem-Oriented Policing Center, Bureau of Justice Assistance, Community-Oriented Police Services. Those are the experts, and there's many, many more. International Association of Chiefs of Police. They have done years and years and years of studying policing. So those people who think that they can just go on the internet like nobody ever done it before, but you have the answer, I can tell you you're wrong. And I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but this is the stuff I wanted to say February 13th.
Okay. Thank you. Randy?
Thank you for sharing your professional and personal experience. That's all I can say. Well, thank you for meeting earlier today with the chief. We had a good, constructive conversation. So, otherwise, I don't have anything else to add to my report this evening. But thank you.
Okay, Jay.
Well, after that, I don't think I can say anything meaningful, so we'll move on.
Okay, Shannon.
Thank you for that, though,
yeah.
Jim. That was
She's
important.
Gone? Okay. District 2?
No report.
Okay. Bill?
The only thing I wanted to say was that on Sunday, there was a group of people in McKee Farms Park using the ninja course. It's not complete yet, but they were out there on a windy 38-degree sunny Sunday.
There's going to be a ribbon cutting coming in. When is it? In June? In June, okay. So, yeah, for that. So, Joe?
Yeah, this is coming from Gabriella from her day job. There is a home repair program through Habitat for Humanity. If you go to habitat-org/apply/apply-for-repairs, there's a program that kind of lists what it's about. Essentially, if you have lived in your home for any amount of time and you meet the qualifications by income and also by geography, you should, if you're eligible for that, you can potentially have any type of repair on your home. So go to the website, read on it. I think it's a really good opportunity for folks, and a lot of the map that I've seen includes District 1, so that's why I'm giving it in my report. There is a home buyers workshop at the Latino Chamber of Commerce. It is going to be on, give me a second. It's going to be on the 23rd of March between 8:30 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., again at the Latino Chamber of Commerce. And then I wanted to recognize one of our residents of District 1, who's also one of our park commissioners, Christopher Peguero. He was named as one of the Wisconsin's 32 most influential Native American leaders for 2024. So he is of Menominee descent, grew up in Green Bay, lived in Seattle for a while, and is currently the diversity and equity and community engagement head at Type 1 Energy Group. So congratulations to Christopher for the honor. And then just happy birthday to my son. He turned 18 a few weeks ago, and my nephew just graduated high school. So Aiden and Saul, congratulations to both of you.
Thank you. Dave?
Jim, thank you for your comments, and just a couple of fun things. Saturday, March 30th, Belmar Park, Allied Duns Marsh neighborhood Easter egg hunt. And then if you don't get enough there in the afternoon, Dave Herbst sponsored Jamestown Easter egg hunt, and Jamestown Eagle will be in the afternoon on Saturday the 30th. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
Dave?
I don't know if he's here yet.
Dave, aren't you having a bike giveaway too?
I am, but I haven't got that date set yet, Joel. It's either going to be the first or second weekend in April, and I'm kind of struggling to get the right date. So I'll let everybody know as soon as I've got that date set.
Dave, you said you're working with Mike Grady on that from Bike Fitchburg?
Yeah. We're as soon as I get the date, I gotta coordinate with Mike, and we'll have a safety course or safety summit. What I'm running into though, I need a parking lot, and there's not really a good spot, so I'm kind of struggling with where to do it. So stay posted, or if you have any ideas, let me know. I got a couple spots I think I can use, but there's really nothing right down kind of in the middle of the neighborhood there.
Mayor, can I just add one more thing to the report? So I sent this to the council, but there is a group that's been working for a really long time. It's mainly made up of faith leaders. They're called the Allied Partners. So they just kind of put their heads together and collaborate with the neighborhood to, raise and give out funds. They sent their annual report for 2023. Just a few highlights. They contributed $13,600 towards eviction prevention, and then $2,900 in other contributions, including food, community building, and events, including the Allied Duns Marsh Neighborhood Association. So I just wanted to give that group a shout out because they're the helpers that you need to look for in our community. So just appreciate their work.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next, we move to announcement. And next committee of the whole is going to be March 20. Okay, remember, March 20.
Yep, next week we have the Park Open Space and Recreation Plan on the agenda, as well as more referendum stuff.
Okay, and then our next common council meeting will be March 26. So I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourning at 10:43. Thank you very much, everyone.